And welcome back to the Nerd Eye Council. This is week 7, technically, or episode 7. That's more Star Wars-esque. Because today we're going to be talking all about Star Wars. We just watched the most recent trailer, the short little trailer of Rogue One. Super hyped. The new movie needs to just get here already. What are we looking at? Like 19 days now?
3 weeks. Yep.
3 weeks from today.
Ralph's into it. He's checking his watch out. He's timing it down to the next minute.
It down.
3 weeks from today, so we are definitely in Star Wars mode. We're going to shift the podcast, the focus a little bit. Definitely going to be more Star Wars oriented in the next couple weeks. But we have been talking about doing more and more conspiracy-esque videos since the three of us enjoy conspiracy theories so much. Today we have 2 guests today on Nerd Eye Council. We've never done 2 guests before. Hopefully it's not total chaos.
It's crazy.
But we have... Now this is where you get to insert your Jedi name. So if you thought of one before you came over. So we have...
Insert here.
Chris on my left and Joe on the right.
Jedi name.
Why
do I gotta be a Jedi? Maybe I want to be Darth.
Sith.
Maybe I want to be Darth Ginger.
Darth Ginger.
Darth Ginger. That's pretty awesome, actually. So we were talking about what to talk about on this podcast, and I said maybe just to start it off, we could talk about favorite Star Wars moments from the entire new canon.
Yay!
Favorite moment. Ralph, favorite moment.
My favorite moment, one of my favorite moments is A New Hope, when Greedo shows up.
What a surprise.
Right.
In the original trilogy,
How did I know this was gonna have
originals,
something to do with Han Solo?
Han Solo shot first. That's my favorite moment right there.
So...
And they churched it up and made it seem like Greedo shot first. But we all know Han Solo shot first.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with Han being the scoundrel. I don't know why he's shady at times. That's just who Han is. I don't know why George felt the need to go back and church it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it either.
I have 7. This is actually, I could go on and on about favorite Star Wars moments, but I was thinking about this yesterday, and of course for me, Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, which is what we're watching in the background right now. No one's really watching, but we're listening to it. Star Wars, Luke Skywalker making his appearance in Return of the Jedi as a badass Jedi. When he comes into Jabba's palace, says, "Let my people go."
Moses style.
Or else.
His lightsaber turns into a snake for some reason.
Matter of fact, have you guys all seen the deleted scene of where he made his...
No. What crystal he used and stuff?
So there was a scene they took out of Return of the Jedi where he made his lightsaber in the cave. You guys have not seen that?
No.
Oh, wow. They totally should have left it in the movie because it's a kick-ass scene. It's Luke creating it with the Force, so it's all like floating and hovering in front of him and like piecing itself together.
They did that in that Clone Wars series.
Did they?
Yeah, they took them to this ice planet, and that's where they got the crystals. They can only see the crystal. The crystal picks them, so they can only see it. And they had to build it.
What did we just learn from... They were just talking about the Kyber crystals, the new canon, a couple months ago. Remember we were talking about the new elements of the Kyber crystals? Like, there's no more synthetic ones. The red ones used to be synthetic. I'm trying to think what Disney changed it to.
I don't know. You got me.
It was something like because they were trying to explain the Sith lightsabers, why Sith lightsabers are red or whatever, and one of the theories was that whatever crystal that they have, they concentrate their evil into that crystal and it turns it red. So that's where you get it one. And then in reference to the Ahsoka novel that they just came out with, they were wondering if the crystals were the color represented your
balance
level
in the force.
Your level in the force. Mm-hmm. And there's one part where Ahsoka kills these two Sith or whatever, and she picks up their crystals, and the crystals turn white. And they're like, well, is that she very sensitive in the Force or whatnot? And they said, well, once she cleanses it, it reverts to a white crystal. It doesn't go back to its original color.
You can't just change it to whatever color you want. It would just purify it.
Yeah, basically.
So is that why Mace Windu's got a purple lightsaber? Because red and blue makes purple. Red and blue makes purple.
Yeah, I think there's something to that because we all know that Mace fights with a Sith-like fighting. What are they?
He actually draws power from the dark side.
And with what Nate's saying,
that kind of. The color purple is kind of like the balance in between the blue and the red.
His fighting style is actually an aggressive.
It's crystal.
It's an aggressive form of fighting style that uses the dark side powers, but something about like using the dark side without having yourself go over to the dark side. So
he doesn't let it overwhelm him.
So Mace is a crazy Jedi. He lives on the edge. He's living on the edge of the dark side.
The dark side. It was either purple or yellow.
It's like purple because pimps wear purple.
So where would the black crystal come and play with this?
Yeah,
save me some, homie.
If red's the dark and evil, so
that's good. That's a good question because I know they're actually going to bring that up again in Rebels.
Did Darth Plagueis have a red sword?
I saw in one of the trailers the dark. What do they call it?
I don't know what they call it.
Darksaber?
Have you seen these?
It's not ordinary blade either. It's like almost like a real sword blade.
Mm-hmm. Is that from what?
It's from the clone.
Yeah.
And you know what? In the game, the Force Unleashed, and that's what got me thinking about is that I've picked up a black lightsaber before, made my own black lightsaber, and
it gives you
you could get like unstable crystals.
Yeah.
So the lightsaber's unstable. I want to see some of that shit.
Well, yeah, black sabers matter too.
Yeah. That should be on a T-shirt. That sounds familiar. That should be on a T-shirt. Right. Black sabers matter too.
I want to see like a black unstable lightsaber in one of the movies.
You never see an unstable black lightsaber.
And you just see one of the guys bust that thing out, and the other person be like, "Oh shit, this motherfucker's crazy."
You notice it's not pure black; it's almost like stars or like glitter.
It's badass looking. It is.
It's like mixed.
Yeah,
an unstable black saber wielded by Mace
Mixed.
It really isn't completely black.
There's some other colors in there.
I mean, it could have came from a blue crystal and a white crystal.
A mulatto lightsaber.
Yeah.
I think that term is very racist. No, I don't think you can say that
I don't
word.
think you can say that word.
But now that Trump's
okay.
president, maybe that's good.
Yeah, it's all good, honkies.
It's all good now.
It's all good.
It's all good, honky.
The whites are rising again for some reason.
Yeah. Lightsabers, he means.
Lightsabers. Unstable.
We're talking about lightsabers. So, where was I? Oh, okay. So, favorite moments. I definitely love the opening to Return of the Jedi. I would say also, I think one of my favorite moments is the opening scene to Force Awakens. I thought the opening scene, the village,
that was cool.
The village, where he stops the laser bolt. First time we get to kind of like see Kylo Ren and all of his badassness. That was very cool for me. Also, of course, the end of the trilogy, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker having it out in front of the Emperor. That was
that's what I got on there too.
I'm a big Return of the Jedi fan, so. But yeah, I mean, I guess first time I saw Qui-Gon on screen. Qui-Gon being one of my favorites, or if not my favorite. when they go to have Jedi negotiations. That's a pretty kick-ass scene, I think. But ruined quickly thereafter with Jar Jar coming onto the scene.
Jar Jar.
Fucking Jar Jar.
You know what?
That's one character I wouldn't mind seeing getting a black lightsaber to his head.
We were just talking about how at the end of Return of the Jedi, and I told you this, I think, recently.
It was me. You were talking to me about him being in his voiceover.
Oh, okay. Jar Jar is the last voice you hear in the trilogy.
Really?
Yeah, fuck George Lucas, man.
Like in episode 3?
Because at the very end of 6.
Oh, 6.
At the very end of Return of the Jedi, when they're celebrating, and you hear like the Nub Nub song, and the whole galaxy is celebrating. At the very end, the music kind of like quiets down for a second, and you hear, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what he says. Doesn't really matter what he says, but he says, "We shall celebrate!" Yay!
Really?
Yeah. My kids found it. We were
in Return of the Jedi?
And my youngest son was like, "Is that Jar Jar?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so we actually rewound it. I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my god, it is Jar Jar!" Yeah, he went back and added it. And it's the very last voice you hear.
I believe.
You know what? Leave it to George Lucas. He's gonna reveal at the end of episode 9 that Jar Jar is really Snoke.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, yeah, guys.
I never saw that coming.
Big fuck you to all the Star Wars fans.
Misa gonna kill you.
Misa, avenge George. So, favorite moments, fellas. Who's next?
You know what? I gotta say, the moment that actually changed, like lightsabers and all that shit for me, like completely threw me off balance, is when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan faced Darth Maul together, and Darth Maul threw that double lightsaber out. I almost shit my pants.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
I was like, you can do that?
Right, that's definitely one of the best lightsaber battles. And that was like, we had the internet back then, but you didn't know everything was coming, before. It's not like it's not like 6 trailers then the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a lot of surprises in Phantom Menace.
I don't think they showed his double lightsaber.
I think they hinted at it.
Yeah.
If I remember the trailer, but I don't think they ever showed it until you actually saw the movie.
That was cool. Yeah, double lightsaber was the coolest. That's why I think Rey's staff.
I was just going to say, are we all in agreement that we think Rey is going to have a staff?
I think so, because if you look at the tip of each end, it looks like Darth Maul's tip that he has. So maybe
it does.
Yeah.
And if she has a staff and she virtually never uses it,
maybe she don't even know it's a lightsaber.
Maybe she found it.
Scavenging and stuff.
And she wouldn't be the first person to have one, because actually I was talking to you about this not that long ago. Going into the myth of, Yoda's master, when he was coming up. He crash landed on a planet, and the Jedi that kind of brought him up and made Yoda what he is today was actually like a half serpent, 4-armed Jedi that had a staff with the crystal on the end of it. So,
kind of like Rey's.
Do you remember last year before The Force Awakens came out and you showed me that
picture with Rey?
It was from the Energizer commercial or something, wasn't it? From batteries?
It was batteries. Yeah.
But didn't they show Rey's staff lighting up like a lightsaber?
I think so. Yeah.
Somebody showed me that.
I showed you a video, didn't I? It was a video before episode 7 came out, and I was like, look at this, they're fucking spoilers like crazy in this commercial.
Yeah, and it was like a 30-second, or not even 30 seconds, but Rey's staff had like a green blade on it.
Yeah, I thought so. It was Duracell
Unless
or something.
somebody added that to the commercial, I don't know. But I remember thinking, we're going to see that in episode 7. We didn't even find out where Anakin's lightsaber came from.
No.
Let alone whether...
Yeah, I don't know how the hell she would have got that.
Maz.
Yeah, Maz.
I've been seeing a lot of theories on the internet about that recently.
She's a Jawa.
You know, Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was supposed to go.
They're like, oh yeah, she's been in all the movies, and then they show like these Jawas, and they're like, well, she could have been here, and this could have been her too, and this could have been her. I was like, there's a lot of could have been.
She's the lone survivor from episode 4, that burning sand crawler.
Maz is Snoke. I don't know what you're talking about. I saw that video, dude, and it said Maz is Snoke, and it showed her face and like Snoke's side by side, and they are virtually the same face.
Well,
but then you look at Snoke's face, and then look at how Darth Vader was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
They got the same gash in their head, and their face is all fucked up.
And then they're like, no, Snoke could be Mace Windu because he got fucked up by Force lightning. And like,
he appears. I told you, motherfuckers, I was coming back.
I've been here all along. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about like what ifs and theories today too. So anytime one pops in your minds, fellas, just
actually, I got one right here, and I actually thought this was a pretty interesting one. I thought of this: what if Han Solo lost the game to Lando and never got the Millennium Falcon?
You know, I'm not super excited about the Han Solo movie coming, but
nobody's perfect.
But I do want to see how it all unfolded where he got the Millennium.
Right, and they are, and from what I heard, they're gonna show that in the movie. But it gets you thinking: is Han Solo the Han Solo that we come to recognize without the Millennium Falcon?
No. I don't
think so. I think the two, one makes the other.
Like Chewbacca and Han Solo. If you didn't have Chewie, would Han Solo still be relevant? Kind of. I don't think so. I think,
which is why I said they need to kill Chewie. I'm telling you, he's like a dog with no master right now.
It was sad.
No, he's fine. He's got Rey and Finn. I mean, he's fine.
I'm surprised you're not calling him a traitor, Ralph.
Calling who a traitor?
Chewie.
Why would I call Chewie?
You should kill yourself, Wookiee.
You failed.
Well, how does the life debt work, man? If Han dies, shouldn't Chewie be like, "Rrrr"?
Well, he took a shot. He shot Kylo Ren though.
Right, but I'm saying if there's no more Han, Chewie should just be like, well, I go where he goes, like a faithful dog.
Yeah.
If you're going to hell, Han, I'm going with you.
I don't know.
How long has he had that bowcaster? You figure he'd be a crack shot by now, and then he has a golden chance to take out Kylo Ren, and he just gets him in the side.
Yeah.
You fucking loser.
That would have been a perfect shot if he would have shot him
right
before
between
he
the eyes.
I think it would have been cool if he shot Kylo Ren and Kylo Ren fell off, and he got sucked in like how Luke Skywalker did.
You know what? Technically, that's how Darth Maul actually lived.
Well, get sucked in.
He fell down that hole
when he fell down into that well there, and
so Chris and I were talking about this, the coming next two movies. I would, of course, you all know how I feel about.
Put butter in there.
No, it's sugar.
Butter my coffee.
I'll butter my coffee.
About Rey turning evil, you all know how I feel about that.
I think Rey's already evil.
How bad? Oh, she's a woman, yeah. We can edit that, right?
No, let's just leave it.
But Chris and I were talking about Maul. No longer Darth Maul. He is just Maul now.
Yeah.
But what a kick-ass character Maul is, and the fact that he's still around now.
How old he is.
So he's causing trouble on Rebels, and so they're talking about how's he gonna die.
Who?
Maul.
Oh, Darth Maul.
Are they gonna kill him off in Rebels? If they don't kill him off,
they can put him in the movie.
Then you have to bring him into the movie.
That would be sweet. Bringing him back.
Wouldn't everyone love to? Aren't we in agreement that Maul coming back?
Would he be? He'd be old though, right?
He
could show Rey the dark side of the Force if they don't.
He would be. So it'd be 30 years after.
So he'd be like almost 60, depending on how old he
old
was.
As shit, Maul.
So it's 30 years after A New Hope is where we are presently in Episode 8.
Yeah.
But how old was he in Phantom Menace though?
But you gotta think,
I
Darth Maul was
think
probably
young.
about the same age as Obi-Wan when he was a Padawan when they first fought.
But his race may age much more slowly too.
Yeah.
Zabrux or whatever they call them. Starts with a Z, I can't remember.
That's how the Wookiees are.
Yeah,
They can live up to 200 to 300 years old.
Right,
like
so
that.
I just heard recently they were talking about the Han Solo movie and that Chewie is, it's 100, what did I tell you, 180?
Yeah, something like that.
185 years old in the Han Solo movie that's coming.
That's in Wookiee years.
In Wookiee years, so yeah, it's like every 7 years more. But so yeah, and he's only middle-aged or something by the time we see him in episode 4, and he's like 200 years old. So yeah, they live to be like 400 years old or something. So yeah, we don't know how
But he's
old.
at midlife crisis right
I think
now.
it's easily,
Well, he just lost Han.
I think it's easily believable if Maul comes back or makes it into the movies, and you say, and yeah, you show him aged. Maybe like one of the antlers is broken or something.
That would be cool.
Well, they're supposed to grow, like in the comics. I remember reading one of the old comics right after Phantom Menace, and it was like 2 or 3 years down the road.
Yeah, like one of
and
his...
the horns were like that long.
Yeah. Yeah, they grow.
They haven't.
I think they can maintain that shit though, because like if you ever if you watch the videos and whatnot, like after he gets cut in half, after he gets cut in half and he goes through his depression and his brother finally finds him and brings him back, he's actually, these things are like all different sizes and growing all huge.
Yeah, but
and then he gets his sensibility back and realizes who he is and all this and that. And then the next few scenes you see him, they're back to how they were.
Because he went to that mother, or whatever it's called, the witch planet.
What's her name? Talzin.
Yeah, her. And she fixed them all up and stuff, gave them robotic legs, and then those got chopped off again. And
so I didn't see those episodes. Joe is a Clone Wars, probably the biggest Clone Wars fan of any of us at the table here.
I watched,
but he's younger, he grew up on the Clone Wars. I like the Clone Wars, the later stuff. And I'm kind of like I was telling Chris the other day we were talking, I'm kind of remorseful that my son was trying to get me into it at the time, and I was like, no, that Clone Wars stuff's for you kids. It's stupid.
No, it
definitely got way better in the later years, I think.
They did really good at sticking with the script, I think, as far as how they took the cartoon with it.
But they ended up taking it out because it got too mature for a younger audience.
Yeah.
I think that's...
And then they just canceled it eventually.
It's very similar to what Rebels is doing. I think that show started off very kind of
kiddish
and aimed towards the kids. And,
yeah.
And now that the movies have come out and there's this newfound love for Star Wars with the younger generation and whatnot, they're getting more and more serious about Ezra turning to the dark side, Maul making his comeback onto that show, and Maul seeking revenge. Maul wants revenge against everyone, really, but against the Sith.
He fought Palpatine as well.
Right, he wants to destroy Palpatine in Rebels, and he also wants revenge on Obi-Wan. And they're setting it up right now, because the Sith holocron and the Jedi holocron that they opened up, him and Ezra opened up, and there was a vision that they both saw, and Ezra says, I didn't see the episode, but I saw a clip from it, and Ezra says, twin sons. And then Maul is sitting there and he says, so he does live. So, there's gonna, I can imagine at the end of the season, probably there'll be a showdown between Maul and Obi-Wan.
There's an old cartoon a long time ago. You remember that?
No.
Did you ever see that?
Chris was talking about it.
There was an old cartoon. It was, he went to Tatooine and fought Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan, he was still kind of like how he was in episode 3, but just a little bit older. You know, he had more of a grayed out beard, still had the orange tint to him and stuff, but he finished him off.
That was in Clone Wars?
Obi-Wan. No, it was a cartoon. It was like a drawn out, sketch.
But it wasn't Clone Wars.
No, but
so it wasn't actually canon anymore.
I don't know if it's fan made though.
So what you're saying is you're lying.
No, no, but he finished him off though there. He ended up fighting him. He chopped off his robotic legs again and killed him for good.
Like, will you stop doing that?
It's like, these don't grow back, asshole.
He went through like 3 different pairs of legs.
You know how much these cost?
Like robot chicken.
Yeah,
It wasn't even paid off yet.
Well, no, he had the spider legs, and then he got the robot legs, and then he got the new upgraded
Yeah, you're
robot
right.
legs.
He did have spider legs at first.
Yeah, he had 8.
He upgraded for the new model.
Yeah.
He had 3 different
I
pairs of legs.
forgot all about that. Yeah, because I remember I didn't watch Clone Wars, but I remember
You got to watch it. You can skip the whole first 4 or 5 seasons, but you got to start watching at 6 because it goes on to the 3rd movie, which it shows Ahsoka dropping out of the Jedi Council and everything.
Yeah,
you gotta watch it.
Where they falsely accused her, she came back, and they're like, "Yeah, we want you back," and she's like,
she
"No,
turned it down.
fuck that."
Yeah,
And kind of.
And what's
Just
her
walk
deal?
out.
Why did she not want to?
because they falsely accused her. They believed Palpatine over her.
When she actually didn't she find
She
out
knew
the
that
truth?
he was the
She
Sith.
found out.
Yeah, she knew before anybody that he was.
But Palpatine was quick on his feet and ended up turning the tables on her. So they started hunting her down.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Jedi or the Sith?
Yeah,
the Jedi.
the Jedi were hunting her down.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And there was what was it for Order 66? They did you see the one where they put the tumor inside all the clones?
Oh yeah.
They
yeah.
placed all the different orders.
And then
Order
fives.
66.
Then fives went fucking crazy early before it because his chip had malfunctioned. Ended up
He
shooting
shot
the
one
Jedi
of the
in the
Jedi's
side
in
of
the
the head.
fucking face. Yeah.
And then they took her back with they took fives to Camino with Rex. And that's when Rex confronted a droid that was actually doing the surgery on him. And Fives had died. They had removed his chip. They had malfunctioned. And then he had the droid go into his head and see if there was one. And there was, obviously. And they removed it, and then they checked them both out. Like, hey, this is the one that was pulled from me. This is the one that was pulled from him.
His was fried. It was.
Yeah. Fives
I don't think that was
fried.
Rex,
Rex's
though.
was fine.
Or was it
Was it
Rex?
Rex?
No, he had the goatee. Rex didn't have the facial hair. You remember?
I thought it was Rex.
No, Rex. No, he was
Because if you
bald.
actually look at... Because Rex is actually in the newer ones now. The
Was it Commander Cody?
Rebels.
No, it wasn't Cody. I love Cody.
I don't
but
know.
no, it
I
wasn't
don't
Cody.
know.
I love
my
Cody.
Son, my son loves
Cody's awesome.
Dude, I went on a crazy find trying to find the figure for
Yeah.
Cody, and then I finally got him.
But they
Are you really a fan
they
of
pull out
Cody?
these chips. They pull out these chips, and his is
Man.
fine. And even Rex.
I'm not
like
really
now,
a fan of the cartoon. I mean, whatever.
Well, no, he was in the actual movie.
But
Yeah.
even Rex, like now, he's got this big, grayed out beard, and if like I
I
seen
made a custom out of it.
like little
Yeah, did
I show you
videos
that?
Yeah.
from
Give him a black
Rebels that
sword,
he's
glitter on it.
he's actually with Ezra and what's his name? The guy that's training Ezra.
Maul or the other guy?
No, not
the
Maul.
blind guy.
The
What's
blind
the blind guy's name?
Yeah, it's empty. Sorry.
What's the blind guy's name? You know it.
Who?
Kanan
In
Jarrus.
Rogue One?
Kanan Jarrus.
In Rogue One?
Come back to me, Ralph.
I'm sorry, I'm floating. I'm sorry.
No, and Rebels.
Oh, okay.
Kanan Jarrus.
Yeah. Jarrus, yeah.
Who is actually
I'm back.
considered, who, like I was telling you, is actually considered the last Padawan.
Right. Explain for the viewers.
Well, okay, Kanan Jarrus was actually a Padawan of this Jedi Master, and when Order 66 had hit, he was with her, but she, his master,
Got killed.
she died helping him escape and avoid all this shit. So he actually kind of went on trying to train himself. Makes sense? And trying to focus on the Force in his own way, trying to...
And then so he took his knowledge and started to train Ezra.
They found Ezra, and he started, he turned him into his apprentice and kind of made him, he's kind of like a self-made Jedi Knight.
Right.
He kind of dubbed himself that.
One of the, okay, so we were talking about Ahsoka, and you guys, you're a Clone Wars fan. You were telling me, somebody was telling me that they're a Ahsoka fan. Is it you or you? I don't know. But
I mean, I like those.
I like Ahsoka now too.
She's all right.
But when the idea of Ahsoka came out,
you didn't like her though.
I never liked the idea.
I thought it was kind of cool how they brought up her as a Padawan for Anakin the train.
Yeah,
that's.
Who did Anakin kill to become a Jedi Master? Don't you have to kill a Sith?
Count Dooku.
Oh yeah,
but that was episode 3.
No,
but he just brought her up on.
I don't think you have to kill someone. I don't think that's part of the.
I thought you had to kill somebody. That's why Obi-Wan.
No, I think if you kill a dark side user, that you kind of like.
Prestige faster.
It's kind of like skipping a grade or whatever. Like, yeah. Okay, well, you must be ready, apparently, because you just took on a...
Called the Obi-Wan rule.
Right.
All you gotta do is just kill a dark side user. Boom, you're a Jedi Knight, right? Like that.
Boom, here's your diploma.
Watch it would be like, oh, you killed that? He was a bitch anyways.
No, as far as I know, the finishing act of becoming a Jedi are the trials.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what they did in the cartoon. Obi-Wan and Mace Windu and Yoda kind of talked to her in the council room and stuff, and then they sent her on a gunship to Anakin in the middle of a fight. That's where they began.
Okay, but she was never awarded a Jedi.
She was still a Padawan being trained, but she was out on the battlefield though.
She was never considered a Jedi Knight. She was just considered a Padawan.
Right. She never made it to that status.
Yeah.
But now she kind of...
Yeah.
No, she's not a Jedi now.
Well, she's dead now.
Well, she never...
we don't know.
Near the end, she even made the comment that she's not a Jedi.
Right. In Rebels Season 2 at the end where Vader shows up riding on the TIE Fighter.
So did Vader kill Ahsoka?
So that... I think the novel answers that because they leave it very gray. Mm-hmm. You see her. There's a badass battle.
Isn't that when Vader's helmet's smashed and she sees his eye and his scar?
So she still wasn't sure.
Well, she brought up Anakin's name. She's like, Master. And he froze up for a second in the middle of the fight.
Yeah. Right. So in Rebels 2, at the very end of the season, she strikes him, catches him off guard, and half his mask gets cut off.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so you can see his Anakin eye, and she looks at him, and she's like, Master? And he basically admits to her.
He's like, no, wrong person.
Someone was telling me that she had suspicions that Darth Vader was him.
Well, she knew. She passed out on a TIE Fighter. What's their ship that they all travel on? It's like the Millennium Falcon or whatever in Rebels. I haven't watched.
Oh, the Ghost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she was on there with them, and they went up to the main fighter, whatever that he was on, and she's like, I sensed something, whatever, and she had a whole vision of Vader being Anakin, and she passed out and freaked out, and they woke her up and stuff. She's like, we got to go there. Vader's on that ship.
Okay. But in that fight scene, back to what she identifies herself as, he says something to her. Vader is talking to her and says. She says something, and he says, that's not the Jedi way, or something. And she said, that's because I'm not a Jedi. Mm. And then they start battling. It's very kick-ass, actually. She ignites both lightsabers at that moment.
See,
like, you're not a Jedi, right on.
I thought it was better, because everyone sits there and goes, oh, yeah, Vader killed Ahsoka. I thought it'd be better if they actually showed Ahsoka die, because now you're kind of leaving in a little bit of a blank space, because you see... like Vader, like limping out of that Sith temple where they were fighting, and then it takes a peek inside, and all you see is this little light, and then the light goes out.
Right.
And you're looking like her white lightsaber,
right.
And then the lightsaber goes out, and I'm sitting there like, so.
And no one's read the novel yet, right? No one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Apparently, there's an Ahsoka novel now that they just released a couple months ago.
Just go to the end of the book and read it.
Right. I
think chapter is the only important one.
I think they didn't want to kill her off because I think they're still up in the air about whether they use her or not.
Well, you got to think she's probably in her 30s right now, if in age-wise. So she didn't die. Yeah, she got to be in her 30s, 40s because she could probably be a little bit younger because she was still a teenager.
I was gonna say
probably 20s,
like mid to late 20s.
Yeah, because she was still like 16, something like that.
So she would be 55. Going on 60 if she was still alive.
She's
in what?
In the new episode ones. 8. If she appeared in 8, she'd be like 55 years old.
She could make a small appearance in Rogue One.
So that leads me to my question to you guys. Would you guys like to see Ahsoka in one of the movies?
No. I don't think it matters, really. I don't care.
I mean, I actually
don't care.
I mean, I like Ralph doesn't care. Ralph doesn't care anymore. Han Solo's gone. He's like, fuck it, I don't care anymore.
You know
Ahsoka, whatever.
I think realistically, if she did appear in one of the movies, I think she'd have like a very short scene.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd be a big part of it.
I kind of actually feel the same way Ralph does, and I warmed up a lot to Ahsoka. I hated the character in the beginning, and
she's cool. I like her.
I've said this before in the podcast. Why I didn't believe. I believed it was way out of context or out of canon to make her Anakin's Padawan. It doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. They don't do that.
It does now. I mean, they kind of made it all intertwined.
Yeah, and I like her now, I think, more because she's kind of like, well, I'm definitely not a dark side user, and the Jedi are kind of fucked in the head, so I believe in the Force, but you all kind of crazy. And I like her sensibility. Like, she looks at the situation and goes, well, you guys don't do things the right way either, so I'm not going to be a part of that, but I'm going to do the right thing that I feel, which is very much Qui-Gon. Whenever I see Ahsoka now, I always think, like, Qui-Gon and her would have made a badass duo.
Qui-Gon made an appearance in the Clone Wars as a Force Ghost visit Obi-Wan.
I actually saw that.
That was like literally the first season 1.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool, but yeah. Speaking of Qui-Gon, though, he was supposed to go Sith with Count Dooku.
He almost did.
No, he was supposed to, but he got killed off. He knew about the clones and everything.
Were you going to say something?
Oh no, you were talking about Ahsoka. Ahsoka sounds like she decided just to walk her own path. She's not locking herself into one side or the other. Mm-hmm. She walks her own path.
Mm-hmm. Very much
so.
She's the female Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Really.
I was about to say, because, we were talking about that, how Qui-Gon did that exact shit. Except never really shied away from the Jedi temple.
Right.
She completely left, but Qui-Gon stayed at the temple, but kind of disregarded too much of what the council said sometimes.
Something we touched upon.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't cut you up, but in the Clone Wars series, Obi-Wan did have a wife. It was a secret relationship.
Was it a wife or...
Was it a wife or girlfriend?
It was like a secret love that they had.
The
leader of the Mandalorian.
It was Yoda.
Senator.
It was
Yoda. But she got killed off by one of the Mandalorians with the black saber.
Mm-hmm.
But she knew a little bit of the Force too, as well. Didn't she?
Well, she actually died because Maul had taken over the Mandalorian planet and ended up telling Qui-Gon that he wants him to feel like he did when he chopped him in half. So he force pulled her into his lightsaber.
Yeah.
And that's when she was like, I always loved you. And Obi-Wan just kind of like watched her die in his arms, like, I can find another one.
Yeah.
So the stuff we were talking about the other day, Chris and I were talking about Maul. And how Maul could actually be in the movies in 8 or 9, and how badass that would be. And I was telling Chris, like, yeah, and I'm not the only one that's actually had this theory, that Maul could have started the Knights of Ren. Because it kind of makes sense. He's against the Sith. Mm-hmm. He's against the Jedi. Well, as far as we know about the Knights of Ren, which isn't much, but we know that they're not Sith, and that they are definitely trying to get rid of the Jedi, or they even killed some Jedi, apparently, in Luke's new Jedi Academy. But this just occurred to me, because I didn't know the whole Mandalorian thing. Chris was telling me about that, about how he took over Mandalore. And maybe I'll have Chris touch upon that here in a second. But I was just thinking about this when you guys were talking about Maul. The Knights of Ren, the little scene that we see in Episode 7.
When they're out in the rain.
They're all kind of wearing Mandalorian gear. Mm-hmm. And Kylo Ren's mask is kind of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So remember the image they show us out in the rain? And there's like at least 2 or 3 guys that have Boba Fett-esque helmets.
Yeah.
What if that has something to do with the fact that Maul had an integral part in Mandalore. What happened with Maul and Mandalore?
But the Mandalorians got took back over, didn't they? Because Palpatine was there and he kicked Maul's ass, and then Maul ended up fleeing out of Mandalore.
So tell me again what we're talking about. How did he have an effect on Mandalore?
There was like a civil war going on with Mandalore, right?
Okay. This is Clone Wars time.
Yeah, you gotta watch that, dude.
But
You can't watch it for free anymore, unfortunately. Everything costs money now that Disney owns this shit.
Netflix. It's on there.
Mickey Mouse wants his cheese.
Right.
So I guess there's a civil war going on in Mandalore, and there's this senator that is kind of playing the one who's leading Mandalore at the time, who wants to stay neutral out of this whole deal between the Sith and the Jedi, and
but wasn't he just
away from the Republic and everything like that? What's that?
Wasn't he just being bitched around by another guy high up? He was kind of just like the messenger being played out.
Kind of, yeah.
People.
Yeah, but Maul and his brother kind of manipulated these, I guess, rebels of Mandalore, and manipulated them to use them to take over Mandalore, and then Maul just kind of stabbed them in the back and said, yeah, all this shit's mine. Like, you get no peace. So then they actually sided with Obi-Wan to kind of take Mandalore back over.
So the people of Mandalore. So there was a small group that
that
was following. There was a small group of Mandalorians that were with Maul.
Yes.
And then the rest of the planet was like, now get rid of this guy.
Yeah, where did Palpatine come out of? From?
And then
so
he just showed up out of nowhere.
Palpatine, Maul taking over Mandalore kind of, Palpatine just kind of sensed it.
Yeah,
I guess because Maul had so much shit going on that it just couldn't go over Palpatine's head. So Palpatine made a trip to Mandalore and found Maul and what was his name? Osis.
Yeah,
Orsis. And Maul's brother.
Oh yeah.
He found them two there, and Maul sits there and goes, hey, "Master," bows down, and all this and that. Sees Maul's brother and knew that Maul was training him on the side, and he's like, "Well, now you're a competitor." And then
that's when they started fighting.
Maul and his brother end up fighting Sidious, and Sidious just kicks their ass. Ended up killing Darth Maul's brother, and then Darth Maul sitting there like, don't kill me, blah 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 blah, and then Sidious is sitting there like, I have a new apprentice, but I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna fucking force lightning the shit out of you and torture the hell out of you, because he said he could still use him.
That's where it cut out completely.
Yeah, and that's where. Mm-hmm.
So
no one knows what happened after that.
So then the next episode has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
They didn't have enough time to show it really, because they canceled out the show.
Right.
But then you see him in Rebels with Ezra. He's sitting at the temple saying he'd been trying to get in for fucking ever, and then uses Ezra to get in there, get the holocron from the Sith temple, and then tries to make Ezra his apprentice, actually helping the Jedi get up the temple, and then they found out that Maul was using them to get Ezra to become his apprentice and all this and that, while fighting off the Inquisitors this whole time, mind you. And then he kind of seemed like that because what's her name? Ahsoka was in that episode, and it was kind of like, he's not part of the Sith, she's not part of the Jedi. He just kind of seemed like the darker version of Ahsoka, is what it was, because she didn't consider herself a Jedi. He didn't consider himself a Sith. So, and like I was telling you before, he doesn't consider himself Darth Maul anymore. He just considers himself Maul.
Right. He's against.
What if him and her started Knights of Ren?
He's against the Sith.
Like
yeah, dude.
Both of them. What if he took her away or something? Came in and did something to Vader to weaken him, and they just booked.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Knights of Ren could be like Maul loyalists. That have
maybe eventually later on.
The children of those Mandalorians that were with Maul. Maybe, possibly.
I don't know.
So, do you guys think there'll be any characters from Rebels that survives into the movies? Do you think everyone of them's gonna die? How do you think Disney handles all this? Does Disney kill everybody that's in existence right now? We were talking about...
What if it's just two different universes? Kind of... They don't connect into the newer movies. I mean...
I really fucking hope they don't do that.
Because, you know...
That's what DC does with
kind of
television.
piss me off,
Different. That shit bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
I want a continuity. I'm all for them bringing cartoon characters into the movies. The reason they don't, or have not, to this point, for the people who are not true blue.
Like if they
For the
hit...
people who are like, I don't understand.
Yeah, but still, they still could throw the characters in the movie, and that would build up the cartoon a little bit more.
Like so you gotta remember, like, that cartoon Clone Wars, though, Lucas was in charge of that. He came up with the storylines and everything, and after that got canceled, he sold to Disney and all that. So that's probably why.
Well, the way that Hollywood works is that they don't hardly ever use cartoon crossovers for anything, because, or for that matter, a book reference. If it's in a book, but not in the movies, they're not going to introduce. Usually, they won't. Hollywood there's this rule: don't make the viewer do homework.
Yeah.
If it's on paper, don't put it on screen.
It's kind of like, a good example is Dark Knight Rises, and at the very end, he says, "What's your name?" They go, "What's your name?" And he says, "Robin." Robin is a character's name.
Yeah,
it's not a person's name.
It's not a person's name.
Why did he not say Dick Grayson? Why did he not
Well,
say...
go by your nickname. She's like, why don't you go by your nickname, right?
No, she says, why don't you go by your... She says, I like that name. Why don't you use that name? So he's telling her, like, my name is Robin, when there is no... Robin is a character.
Robin.
But, again, Hollywood's got to dumb it down for the general audience, because which is totally stupid.
But
if you go see a Batman movie... you're going to go see it with someone that knows Batman.
Yeah.
If you don't know Batman, that person you're with, somebody that in your group knows Batman and can explain to you when you go, I don't know who Dick Grayson is. What does he mean? Well, that's Robin because see, blah, blah, blah. It takes this much effort to explain it. I don't understand why Hollywood has this rule of like, well, they won't understand that, so let's not. You know, I've told you guys I would really like to see Ezra pop up in these movies.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe it's just different writers' point of view.
It wouldn't surprise me
because they don't want to carry
either.
out their point, so they go with their own idea.
The reason it wouldn't surprise me if Disney does introduce some of these animated characters into the actual story is because of like Rogue One. I mean, what they're doing with Rogue One, they're going back and they're
Getting
like
plans.
Saw Gerrera is a character that came from the Clone Wars. Now, most people go see the movie, they're not going to know that Forrest Whitaker was in the Clone Wars cartoon. Well, his voice, I don't think it was even his voice. But that character existed before Rogue One. But I think the average moviegoer is not going to know that.
Oh, dude, what's that one girl? I always forget her name. She had the the two-handle lightsabers as well. She was bald.
Asajj. Ventress.
Ventress, you think? Is she dead? Or no, is she still... Did they ever kill her off, or is she still alive?
If she didn't die in Clone Wars, then she
didn't die in Clone Wars.
Then she must still be alive somewhere. Because Rebels, I don't think she's...
They haven't introduced her yet in Rebels. Because she was in hiding. She was just kind of like a smuggler towards the end.
She's a kick-ass Sith. I like that character.
Yeah. But they didn't kill her off, did they, in the Clone Wars? I don't ever remember, because I went back, I watched Season 1 to Season 6.
Not that I know of.
She just kind of disappeared out of all of it.
Matter of fact, she's got some of the best lightsabers in the galaxy, in my opinion. She carries two lightsabers, and they look like Dooku's.
Mm-hmm.
They're curved blade.
They got a little bit of a curve.
And they they connect too, right? I think so.
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know if you guys ever went over this topic, but if you wanted to be in a Star Wars movie, what role would you want to play? Like a stormtrooper, smuggler, Jedi, Sith? What would you...
I know what Ralph would be.
Han Solo's dead!
I'd be Chewbacca. I'll throw a curveball in there.
I could see you being Chewbacca.
Chewbacca shrunk.
You're sitting there talking to Solo, and then Solo will be like, no, you're a bitch.
Well, I am very much like a lot of people drawn to the dark side. I think the dark side is very cool. They have some of the best characters, I think. But I've always said this. I'm kind of conflicted about things because I like the Jedi Order. I do, and I think maybe some of it has to do possibly with the fact that I'm a Christian. Like I see a little bit.
That has nothing to do with it. I like the dark side.
I think there's some similarities between Christianity and the Jedi Order.
That's really kind of
because there's a lot of for a lot of reasons if you look at it, but they're a little bit misguided.
Yeah,
like a lot of religion is. A lot of Christianity is a bit misguided.
If you embrace the dark side, Jeebus don't like you no more.
Right.
I don't know. That's like I fell out of place a while back. I don't know. I was agnostic about everything. I really didn't. But I don't know. What would you be, Chris?
Shit. I'd probably try to be Darth Maul.
Legs or no legs?
Red face, red hair. We just go together.
Right. Walking on his hands. Come here, you son of a bitch.
Instead of his legs getting chopped off, he'd have the robotic arms.
So back to the question: do you guys think anyone's gonna make it out alive from Rogue One or Rebels? Are all those characters gonna end up dead?
No, Princess Leia is not.
If they do, that they're going to have to explain why then they never show up in 4, 5, and 6 or 7.
Right.
Maybe they all.
Why we never hear them ever again?
Now, I mean, hell, you could tell now from all the movies that came out. You know, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? With a lot of the shit that they put into the movies but haven't added in. Well, this happened here from these shows. Why isn't it in here in the movies?
I don't know. They might be using Rogue One as a reference to something that's going to happen in Episode 8.
I'm really curious to see if they talk, if there are any Episode 8 Easter eggs at all.
I don't know. There might be. Maybe that's why they put.
Because they're all about trying to separate this movie. Oh, it's not. It's separate. It's different.
They'll have a little something.
But it's still part of the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And you very much we could see Maul. I mean, as far-fetched as that seems, it would make sense if he's going to live on. It would make sense to show him at least in the shadows or something.
Oh, when they did find Maul, though, he was living in the fucking cave thing, wasn't he? Or whatever, like, underground.
When they found him after he was cut in half?
Yeah, before he
they actually found him, his brother and whoever was guiding it, I guess you could call him a fucking Sherpa of the sewers or some shit. But, Darth Maul's brother found him underground of, I can't remember the name of the planet, and that's when he had Darth Maul killed the guy that was guiding his brother, and then went for his brother, and his brother fought back and ended up taking him to Mother Talzin.
Did his brother have a double-bladed lightsaber, too?
They
did. Both did?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
His brother had the yellow face.
Well, Darth Maul didn't have the double blade in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, Darth Maul shied away from the double blade after that. Which I thought was kind of bullshit. But his brother had one.
It got broke, didn't it?
It did.
I remember that.
So
but I would think
he got a new sword, though. Yeah, I thought he got a new. Because one of the crystals.
So if he's not a Sith anymore, is his lightsaber red still?
Yeah, it's still red.
He uses the dark side.
From what we've seen, yeah, it's still red.
I think it's going to be black.
Yeah.
Black sabers matter.
But no,
never seen the yellow.
His brother actually handed him his lightsaber, and he still didn't know who he was. He didn't know shit about his past or anything that had happened, but he knew Obi-Wan's name, because that was the only thing that kept him alive in the first place, was the hatred for Obi-Wan. And when his brother...
And we're back. We had to take a short break there. There were munchkins. There were Ewoks at my door delivering pizza. So we're back with the Nerd Eye Council, and we're about to explore some of the what-ifs and theories that we brought to the table this week. So, Nate, you got a what-if for me?
Got another one. What if Dooku told Anakin about Palpatine just before he's about to get his head chopped off?
What if Dooku told Anakin about Palpatine? Why wouldn't he? Why did he not?
Yeah, I saw one of the videos I guess his hatred of the Republic was greater than his standing with the Jedi Council or something like that. So he's basically
like, all right, go ahead. I'll lay down my life.
Like, I'll take this to my grave or something. To let the Republic burn.
You would have thought he would have yelled something. Be like, he's a traitor!
Yeah, I never thought about that. It's amazing I never thought about that. Like, in the moment of where he's got him in the scissors. Like, why doesn't it go?
Well, he's got his hands cut off. Right? And he's kind of like shaking.
Well, I haven't seen the prequels in a while. So, did Dooku know that Palpatine...
Yeah, because Palpatine went to Dooku and basically recruited him.
Mm-hmm. Dooku was working for Palpatine, remember?
Yeah.
I remember at the beginning of Episode 3, and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Palpatine was kidnapped.
Nah, he was.
Well, Palpatine kept on telling, Anakin to kill him. Kind of Dooku. He's like, do it, kill him now.
Yeah, and Dooku had plenty of time because he even looked back at Palpatine and...
Like, really?
He could have really...
Oh, yeah, he did give him this crappy look. Like, really, man?
Really?
After all I've done for you?
Son of a bitch.
He's like, well, you're not getting a
At that point, I would have been like, hey, man, check us out. He's the bad guy.
Right.
He's the one telling me.
So,
but I see what you're saying. If that would have happened, would Anakin have turned then, or would he have?
Well, this is the question I now pose to the council here.
Okay.
Anakin versus Palpatine at that moment, who wins?
Anakin versus Palpatine.
Well, he was kind of tied down, though.
Oh, he could have.
Well, he's a Sith Lord.
He could have just Palpatine just be like,
yeah, he could have.
I have to think,
like Deadpool. His hands all.
I have to think.
Try to get his lightsaber out.
Anakin would make a false move. I think it would be a good battle.
You think Anakin would make a mistake?
Versus Palpatine.
It would have changed.
Yeah, Anakin at that moment. Let's say Dooku tells him. But you figure at that moment he doesn't kill Dooku then.
So then it becomes Dooku.
So then it might be Dooku and...
But Dooku's got no hands at that moment.
Well,
that's right.
And plus, Obi-Wan was knocked out too. He had that...
what if...
Hang on, time out. So does this brings us back to why does Darth Vader do the thing when he's choking? So do you need hands in order to use the Force?
Probably.
Can you just be like with your nub?
You can't be all like...
Why not?
Well, no, when they
couldn't you use the Force to control your lightsaber? Just like make it float in front of you and then you just kind of...
Well, yeah, because they did that with the lightsabers. Yeah. When they build the lightsabers, they kind of just sit there.
Yeah, check this out.
Yeah.
Look, mine no hands.
Literally.
But what if Dooku, he didn't say anything because he was in shock from losing his hands? Like,
well, I think there was some shock going on. They show his face when he gets his hands cut off, and he's like, ah!
Yeah, I saw that part this morning.
But it doesn't really hurt. I watched a video about that one time, because it cauterizes so quickly that it hurts for a split. It's kind of like someone pinches you, ow, and then it's over.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there bleeding out going, ah!
I'm squirting all around. I'm sorry!
Then why didn't Chewbacca's laser, when he shot Kylo Ren...
The laser's not the same as the lightsaber.
But it still has that power, though.
And apparently a bowcaster's not the same as a blaster, somehow.
A bowcaster?
Yeah, because the bowcaster apparently is much more badass than
more explosiveness.
But you know what's weird, though? Was it green? The lasers for it and the new one?
They were blue.
They were blue? They were green on Kashyyyk in the third. You remember all the Wookiees were shooting and stuff on the battle for the beach?
Was it green?
The blasters were green.
I don't
know, but they're blue on The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
The Stormtrooper.
There's a little spout on the top that drips some food coloring in there.
Switch it.
It comes out whatever you want.
We ought to know this. What color are the blast? I'm ashamed of.
Well, when Kylo Ren stopped the bullet,
that was blue. But they changed a lot of things in 7, as opposed to the original trilogy or even the prequels. I don't know. I don't know what color the blasters were. Now that I'm trying to think of it, I don't think they were ever red.
No, they were green.
Only their blaster or their lightsaber color is red, not the blaster bullets. I think.
I thought the Stormtrooper blasters were red.
Yeah, and the
Stormtroopers or the
Stormtroopers.
The Stormtroopers in the original series.
They were red.
Yeah, and same with the lasers.
The clones had blue.
From TIE fighters. Those are red too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, it's not my fault. I'm colorblind. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, let's go back to this for a moment. So who wins that battle? Does Palpatine just destroy Anakin?
No, because if he would stop and be like, stop and look, then Dooku could just figure
Does
out.
Palpatine? But what if? Okay, let's say this happens before he cuts his hands off. Dooku realizes he's going to get beat, and he says, "Stop! Wait!" He tells him he's a Sith, so. Even if it was Dooku and Anakin versus Palpatine.
Well, that would have to be on Palpatine's decision because he could either at that point kill off Dooku and corrupt Anakin at that point there, or
but at that point
he could just sit there and say, "Well, shit, you fucked up my plan. Kill off Anakin and keep Dooku."
I don't think so. You mean at that point would Palpatine go, "Wait, Anakin," but he hasn't even had the vision yet.
Yeah, so I would say Anakin wouldn't even. I don't think Anakin would believe Count Dooku.
But I think it doesn't work until
you just do it either way.
Right. Go ahead. Man.
I don't think it comes to pass until Palpatine actually says, "Kill him."
Right.
Mm-hmm. He's throwing you under the bus. Right. Maybe Dooku doesn't realize that you're going to throw me under the bus this easily. Who the hell are you?
Right.
I
thought we were bros.
Then I think he would take that moment to have those two fight, and then maybe Dooku kind of scurries away to get robotic hands or something.
But I think it's a valid point. I think that Joe brings up. Maybe Anakin wouldn't even believe him.
See, Palpatine just saw himself a nice young new hottie that he can take under his wing and train him. So
he's the hottie.
You like my
But I think Palpatine kind of had Anakin almost under a spell at that point. I mean, Anakin was kind of like right. Palpatine was. I don't know. Even before he told him he could save him, we see a lot of loyalty between Anakin and Palpatine. So maybe Dooku was like, "Hey, he's a Sith," and Anakin's like, "Yeah, that's what a Sith would say," or whatever, and kills him anyway.
That's what you want.
That was like when he stepped in and tried to save Palpatine from Mace Windu, and he cut Mace Windu's arm off.
Oh, he also went on if you remember,
off, and he's too dangerous, or he got to go on trial, and he tried everything to keep him alive. And then Mace Windu was like, "He's too dangerous to keep alive." Ah, shit!
No, he wanted to leave Obi-Wan in the starfighter, in the destroyer as it was going down. You remember, he's like, "Leave him, there's no time, leave him." He's like, "I can't do that." He's like,
his fate to be our fate.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that during this battle with Dooku that Obi-Wan gets knocked out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say Obi-Wan doesn't get knocked out.
Or he comes to as they're
Or he comes to as he's standing there. Does Palpatine
even
does he say kill him?
Does it even say it? Because he knows that Obi-Wan would be like,
standing there right there.
Obi-Wan wouldn't have let Anakin kill him.
Yeah.
No.
Obi-Wan would have been like,
but does Palpatine give the kill order, and does he? No, we'll take him into custody. Yeah.
I think Palpatine would have. I think he would have, because I think Palpatine's
he's the head honcho.
Uber confident that he could destroy Obi-Wan and Anakin if he had to. I think Palpatine.
Yeah, because even at the end of that movie when they got a fight,
Obi-Wan wakes up at that moment when he cuts his head off. He's like, "Oh my god!"
His head comes rolling.
His head rolls next to him.
He was
but going back to what you said, even Yoda sat there and Obi-Wan was like, "I can't kill Anakin. Let me go after Sidious." And Yoda even sat there and was like, "No, you're not strong enough. You go after Anakin."
Yeah, I have a question. Where were all the other Jedi during this battle? It's happening right above Coruscant.
They were dead. Order 66.
No, this is before Order 66. This is the intro of the movie.
Of what, 3?
Yeah. This whole, giant battle's happening right over, where the Jedi Temple is. Where are, all the other Jedi?
Defending, probably on the ground. There could have
been
different
parts of the galaxy, because when Order 66 goes down, they're shown at different portions of the galaxy where they're fighting the Confederate forces, and then all of a sudden 66 come down.
So
I think what he's saying is, where were they at when Anakin and Obi-Wan were fighting Dooku, though?
Yeah,
they were off planet.
Were they?
They were above Coruscant.
No, I'm saying the other Jedi were
just
in other parts of the galaxy.
fighting in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, they were fighting in different.
I believe that's believable, but
Shakti was
over
down
there watching the fireworks.
Kashyyyk.
Okay, so what we don't see on Episode 3 is Palpatine being kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that. It's left to the imagination.
Right.
So what?
Maybe it was all planned.
Oh, it was. It was off. It's definitely off.
Yeah.
But I mean, they probably, I would assume, picked the moment where there wasn't a whole lot of Jedi around.
Yeah.
I would assume what happened was Palpatine got kidnapped, fakely or whatever, but got kidnapped.
He was so calm though too. When he was sitting in that chair, he's like.
I would assume that Anakin and Obi-Wan took off after him, and were probably like, "We got this." And maybe if there was even other Jedi behind, I would assume the other Jedi would assume maybe there's more coming. Like, we can't leave. Yeah. Somebody has to be here to defend the temple if there's more. Because it was the Trade Federation that did it, supposedly. It was right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because they were still fighting the Trade Federation. Because the Trade Federation was in league with
Sidious.
With Sidious, who they did. Whether they did or didn't know was actually Palpatine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I want to know, like, where was Yoda and, like, Windu? Because we see later in the movie that they are on Coruscant. Well, what are they doing?
Well, to follow up that question, if there is a threat of a Sith Lord that's possibly on the planet, wouldn't you send out an SOS to all Jedi in the galaxy to come back to Coruscant?
But why would they assume there's a Sith Lord?
Anakin told them.
Because Dooku is the
Sith Lord.
Because he's...
Are we talking about when Dooku... Are we talking about because in the opening of 3, they don't know there's a Sith Lord.
Did they assume that Maul was the Sith Lord?
Right.
The Sith Lord, I mean?
The Phantom Menace was Maul, and he got killed. Mm-hmm. And so the Jedi put their guards down. Like, Even though there's been established at this point... Alright, this is a flaw, I think. We can discuss this. At that point in the Star Wars... history, the rule of 2 has been established.
Yeah, by this time, yeah.
But do the Jedi know about the rule of 2?
Yes,
because if they know about the rule of 2, then there's got to be another one.
Yeah, they do, because they talk about it in the Phantom Menace. They say, like, Yoda and Qui-Gon, I think, are talking. 2 Jedi are talking, I know that, and they say it's after they kill Maul. And they say, the only question is, was this the apprentice or the master?
Yoda and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but at 2 they find out about Count Dooku, and there's another one as well, one game where Obi-Wan was captured on Geonosis.
So are we saying that at the time of this battle, Dooku comes in and kidnaps Palpatine? Are we assuming that the Jedi must be going, oh, there's the second Sith?
Yeah. I think they think that Dooku is the second Sith.
They could have think maybe Dooku trained Maul.
But they had to, because in episode 2, it was Count Dooku that was standing next to Jango Fett up top during that fight. Yeah, or that pit.
When they're in the Coliseum.
Yeah, when they're in the Coliseum. So they all had to know it was Dooku because he was standing up top.
Yeah, so he already turned in 2.
Well, they know at that point that.
So Dooku you figure at that point, why not bring all hands on deck to take him down?
Because that's the Jedi's main goal, is to destroy the Sith.
There was no other Sith.
So there should have been an SOS coming out from the Jedi Council,
being like, "We found the motherfucker.
Bring all forces back."
They did try to attack Dooku, but Dooku escaped. He killed a couple of the Jedi.
Right. So before 3 ever happens, before the
this was during the whole.
So at the end of 2, Nate is basically saying
that's why they invaded Geonosis.
Shouldn't the Jedi at the end of Attack of the Clones? Shouldn't the Jedi be like, okay? Forget the Clone War right now. We need you to
regroup on Coruscant.
Regroup Coruscant, and we have to find this. We have to find Dooku because he's the
I think
Sith.
I have the answer.
What
though,
happened in 2 is because they sent everybody, all damn Jedi, to the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I have the answer though, because didn't they think that the attack was planned by Grievous? Because
Grievous wasn't even into.
No, in 3.
On 3.
On the attack on Coruscant. Didn't they think it was planned by Grievous? Because he was like the main one controlling it. But then when Anakin and Obi-Wan got on there,
I think they assumed it was Grievous.
Yeah.
Until they got on the ship and saw Dooku.
Yeah, because Dooku kind of came out as they found Palpatine. He kind of surprised them.
Well, let me add this into the mix, okay? So in Attack of the Clones, and I think that is a really valid point that you brought up, Nate. Why did they not bring everybody back in from the battlefields? But add this into the mix. Okay, so they are aware of the rule of 2. Maul is quote-unquote dead, so there's a Sith missing, is what the Jedi would be assuming, leading into 2. They don't assume Grievous is a Sith. They don't think that.
Is he just like a cyborg?
Yeah, because he was some type of organism, but he was like the early on Darth Vader of a different species because
he was human.
He wasn't human.
No, he
was some other species.
Yeah,
but he was badly messed up, just like
Vader.
Anakin
They just threw them all back together.
And they threw them all back together with all robot
because he had a
parts
heart. He had the beating heart.
And his eyes.
His eyes and his heart, I think, were the only...
Yeah. And his brain. But it was like part
was he
robot.
human? He wasn't human?
No, he wasn't human.
Okay,
he was some other species, but...
Well, let me bring this up. So in 2, when Dooku reveals himself to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan is in that...
The bubble shield.
Right, so he's telling him, blah, 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 Sifo Dyas. So at this point, wouldn't Obi-Wan go back to the council and be like, Sifo Dyas was the Sith?
They didn't have...
Well, they believe that Sifo Dyas was killed, and there's actually been no proof
his
that he has
ship
been
went
killed.
down. It was in the
just,
Clone Wars. They found Sifo Dyas.
But at the point that Obi-Wan gets out of that, and he would obviously tell Yoda or someone from the council, Dooku has turned to the dark side, and his master was Sith, or Sifo Dyas. So wouldn't they assume, that's... They would never assume
Yoda fought
still
Dooku, though,
Sith.
in the second one.
Wait, Dooku's master was Sifo Dyas?
No, Dooku's apprentice was... Or no,
Dooku's master.
Dooku's master was Yoda.
It was Yoda, I believe.
Yoda was, because they fought...
Because Yoda had trained...
Or was Sifo Dyas
Mace Windu and...
No, Sifo Dyas was Dooku's
apprentice.
And Dooku rigged it. I think he put a bomb on Sifo Dyas' ship, which caused it to explode.
They crashed.
And then they recovered his body and ended up using his blood and put it into Grievous, who he kind of did the same thing to Grievous because Grievous wanted to tap into the Force. So they thought, we'll use Sifo Dyas' blood so that you can be able to tap into the Force, which didn't work. As as great as it was, but I mean,
This kind of throws me off because I watched the Clone Wars, right? And Grievous was already in there in the first thing, and then they found Sifo Dyas later on, still alive, and they ended up killing him because he was all chained up. He was still in that shipwreckage, and he was all not there in the head.
Well,
he was all crazy.
no, they didn't find him alive. You're talking about when Yoda went to go through the trials that Qui-Gon Jinn went through to give him that sensibility to be a Force ghost. If I'm thinking of the same thing you're thinking of, because he was chained up and he was like, set me free,
really
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He was like, set me free, I've been captive for so long. That was actually a trial for him because they had never recovered Sifo Dyas' body after that. They had never found him since he had crashed, as far as the Jedi go.
But he was the one that actually gave the order,
hold of him, and then that was it.
to make the clones.
Right, you do know that. I know that.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. So Yoda trained Dooku. Dooku trained Qui-Gon.
Yes.
Dooku trained Sifo Dyas.
They were all supposed to go sit. This is where they were talking Dooku when he was in that bubble shield.
Right.
He told them that, hey, Qui-Gon was supposed to go bad. He's like, Qui-Gon never would have joined you. He's like, yes, he would. Because that was probably the whole plan. There's probably supposed to be 4 of them or 3 of them all together. With Palpatine being the whole leader over everything, probably.
But Dooku trained Qui-Gon and Sifo Dyas. Yes?
I don't think so. I think
How is Sifo Dyas was connected to Dooku somehow? And I thought it was his apprentice or his master. I don't remember.
Yoda trained Dooku, and Dooku took on.
Dooku trained
Qui-Gon.
and Qui-Gon trained Obi-Wan. But did Dooku train Sifo Dyas?
I don't know.
Google.
We're getting our men on it right now to look up the answer. Our staff.
I think it would have been sweet to have Qui-Gon and Count Dooku team up. That would have been a badass team.
But Qui-Gon would have. But Dooku would have eventually turned on Qui-Gon.
But that brings up another question as far as me. Like, if they had never successfully proved that Sifo Dyas died, how would you take that if he came back?
If Sifo Dyas wasn't dead?
Yeah. Is he Snoke?
I've heard that. I've actually heard that.
Sifo Dyas is Snoke. I don't know.
I mean, there's a bunch of theories out there. I'll be honest. I probably shouldn't be saying this because this will go off track, I'm sure. But I want to say, I would enjoy finding out that Snoke would be Darth Plagueis.
Snoke is Plagueis. Yeah, I heard that too. That would be cool.
And I guarantee, I don't want to go too far into depth with that because I know that's going to throw this conversation in a whole different direction when we're already still looking for our last answer on Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you look up Sifo Dyas' master?
Now.
No, it's fine.
Now.
Keep going. Yeah, I think.
While we're looking for that, what would your opinion be on that, though?
For what?
As far as Snoke.
Snoke? Who is Snoke?
Yes. What do you think? Is he just
Snoke's just a whole new character.
You think he's just somebody that's been outside the outer rim and he's just kind of been sitting and being patient?
He's seen the Republic
fall. Yes, he's seen the Republic rise and fall. But there's a whole lot of characters that have.
That's why you gotta watch it.
Essentially, so-called died.
See, they're starting a new Republic
that could
series.
have lived.
Like Plagueis?
Like Plagueis.
You could have brought himself back
and
as a new form.
I mean, because hell, it could be Snoke could be Plagueis. He could be Sifo Dyas. He could be.
What's your bet?
That I think it's a stupid assumption that he would be Mace Windu.
Okay, so
unless it's Anakin.
So Dooku was trained by Yoda.
Okay, we're gonna clarify the Dooku chain of command here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm reading right here. It says Dooku was trained by Yoda as a Padawan learner. Okay, so Yoda trains Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll have to.
Okay, so we've established that part.
Right.
Okay, so the question was, who do we believe Snoke is?
Yeah.
Of course, I have no idea like anyone else does, but I'm gonna bring this up. I read this one theory that was really cool, or I saw a video. It was talking about what if Snoke was a Jedi that escaped Order 66, and Snoke ran into either A, Darth Vader, or B, the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
So either one of those people, I think the video was kind of hinting at Darth Vader, and got destroyed. So Snoke as a Jedi, was a human, and he's a Jedi, but he's not a fully trained Jedi, and he runs into Darth Vader on some odd planet because he's hiding. He's one of the few Jedi left, and Darth Vader just cleans his clock, but leaves him for dead. He doesn't die, hence the scarring. He doesn't die, but he's just in awe of what a badass Vader or Palpatine was, and says to himself, "I must learn the dark side and become like that." And so he spends the rest of his life learning the dark side in this outer planet region. And waiting, right? And waiting for his time to rise to power
when he sees his window of opportunity. Yeah.
Right. So that was a video I saw, and I was like, "Well, because that would be a whole new character that we don't know about." But Snoke was this human being that got messed up by the dark side, and was like, "Wow, I gotta learn how to do that."
That was pretty neat.
You know what I kind of want to know, and it's kind of a little off track, but why didn't Luke age when he was getting zapped by the Force lightning? Because you know how it fucks up your skin and everything, and he's getting shocked there for a good amount of time.
Because Palpatine he was only on like 5 or 6 the meterage of like voltage. He was just toying with it.
He really fucked up.
He's like, this isn't even my full power yet.
Nah, you know what I mean, right?
You know what I mean, right? This is really gonna hurt.
This is gonna
Set
hurt.
full force voltage to stun.
Just too stunned. I'm only going to hurt you, not kill you.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right? I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you really bad.
You ever think they'll introduce Star Killer, Chris?
He's like, I haven't even done shit. I'm using a taser. But Starkiller, I think that would be neat.
No, I don't want to see Star Killer.
I think Star Killer's that one.
It does not fit in the realm.
Yeah, it does.
Not. Listen, guys.
They can bring in Juno and
Star Killer had way too much power. It was fun. It was fun as a video game, but he easily could have defeated the Emperor. Why he didn't, I never understood.
because he got killed.
Well, that's the whole thing. Star Killer never really came into any like state of mind until like the video game came out, and like they even made a novel about it. But I think they were trying to one up. I think they were trying to one up Vader, and that kind of threw everything off track a little bit.
Yeah, not a fan. Cool game, great game. Not a fan of him being part of the canon.
Because they even had a thing. They had a video comparing him and Anakin together.
And Star Killer was way more powerful than Anakin. And Anakin's the chosen one. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not the chosen one. Maybe it's his bloodline that's the chosen one.
What's that, Ralph?
Maybe his bloodline is the chosen one.
The Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
We're just waiting for like the 8th generation.
I don't think any of the Skywalkers are the chosen one.
I do.
I think Obi-Wan's the chosen one.
I think this would be a good idea or a good time to bring up
Ray. I mean, not Ray, but Kylo Ren. He has that bloodline a little bit, but he's more of like a solo though.
Well, have you guys ever heard the idea that the chosen one is something that, like the Force, like there's been many chosen ones, like they, every so often
There's
when
been
things,
a chosen few.
A chosen few. When things get out of whack, that the Force creates a chosen one, quote unquote, in order to bring it back to balance.
Like Anakin?
And Anakin is just one of many.
Anakin fucked things up.
You know what? But there's this theory though that I was talking to Jeremy about this, that possibly Plagueis could have manipulated the midichlorians like they were talking about before, and like the Easter egg that was in episode 3, where Plagueis was in a little bubble and all this and that. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
How Plagueis can manipulate the midichlorians, create life and end life and all this and that. What if he had manipulated the midichlorians and Shmi and just said, it's a boy. Like,
Shmi.
And he's just like, I want you to have a Jedi baby.
Yeah.
Without,
So Snoke's the baby
any
daddy?
of the extra fun.
Could be.
Wait, I was just messing around, but I think I came up with a good point.
Let's hear it.
What if Obi-Wan is the chosen one?
Obi-Wan's dead.
How would Obi-Wan be the chosen one, though?
Well, Anakin would have never really been or done anything without Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, and I think Obi-Wan was the best teacher for Anakin too, because he kind of held him together and didn't let him go astray. And Obi-Wan kind of,
Go ahead, finish.
but he also taught Luke. He really, almost the whole Star Wars saga couldn't happen without Obi-Wan. Now, Obi-Wan's my favorite.
I kind of see what you're saying, because Luke did also keep training with Obi-Wan after he had died, with Obi-Wan as a Force ghost.
But
so I
Yoda
could
took
see,
over.
yeah. But
I see the point that you're making, but I am going to object about the statement you made about you think
being the chosen one.
You think Obi-Wan was the perfect teacher for Anakin. I actually, I disagree with
I disagree.
I think Obi-Wan was a terrible teacher
Yeah.
for Anakin, and I'll tell you why I
He
think
held
that.
him back too much.
Okay.
No,
Well-
not only that, but I mean, go ahead, Jim.
I think, okay, so Obi-Wan is like, he falls into the syndrome of every, like, I won't say every, most modern day parents that just want to be the friend of the child and not be the parent. So Obi-Wan was like, obviously, he said to him, Anakin, you were like my brother. Star Wars is founded on, you and I were talking about this, the concept and idea of father-son relationships. So Anakin needed a father. He never had one. He needed a father really bad. And Obi-Wan didn't have it in him to play father to him. So he was more like his brother, the bossy older brother.
Qui-Gon was supposed to train Anakin, though.
And in episode 2, Anakin actually did say that Obi-Wan was the closest thing he had to a father, but Obi-Wan in episode 3 just kept referencing him more as a brother.
Right. He's like, I don't want to be your dad.
Not your daddy, boy.
He's like, dude, you got issues. I ain't your dad.
Yeah.
No, but I do think, I actually heard a podcast, they were talking about how everything, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but it's interesting if you begin to like put 2 and 2 together. Everything in Star Wars essentially comes down to is all Obi-Wan Kenobi's fault.
It's Obi-Wan's fault?
It's all Obi-Wan's fault, because...
He could have been like, I'm not going to train that little bastard.
So if Obi-Wan would have been like, no, the council disagreed with you, Qui-Gon, I'm not going to train him. So the fact that he goes against what the council... And Obi-Wan doesn't do that very often.
No.
He follows what the council says. But he goes against the council and he says, no, I have to. Qui-Gon told me I'm going to train him. He ends up training what becomes Darth Vader. So if he doesn't train him, maybe Anakin never gets off that planet.
However, he was...
I counter with this. I think it's Yoda's fault.
Ooh.
Go ahead, explain.
Why Yoda? What did he do?
They didn't want Anakin.
Is it pretty safe to say that Yoda is the most powerful member on that council?
Sure.
I'd say
so.
probably him and Mace Windu, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the most powerful Jedi on the council. You've had hundreds and hundreds of years of training.
900.
You've never succumbed to the dark side, not once. Never, don't even want it. You're not going to take a chance on this kid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't teach him. No, it's too dark. I can't do it.
It's too old.
What?
Yeah, they didn't want...
Work with him. Say, I will take him under his wing when he has trained so many others.
You would have thought Yoda would have trained him.
But they didn't want to train him because he was so strong with it, you remember? They said
Right.
that and then
He's
plus
so strong
he
with
wasn't...
the Force and he was so old.
Yeah, he was too old to be...
Easy to manipulate.
And he was
I'm not-
scared because he missed his mom.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I think everything is Obi-Wan's fault, although there's some interesting probability if you think about it, about how it could be his fault. I see where you're going with the Yoda thing, but I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna say it can't be Yoda's fault because Yoda was the one trying to say this kid doesn't need to be a Jedi. I sense the dark side in him. Essentially, is what he's trying to say.
But
So Yoda's trying to say this kid needs to stay on
Mace
the
Windu
planet.
and Yoda. Both of them said.
but also knowing how Qui-Gon is, and knowing that Obi-Wan has been under the tutelage of Qui-Gon, shouldn't Yoda have realized? Yeah, Qui-Gon's going to fight me on this, no matter what I say, no matter what we say. He's going to teach him whether we say no or not, yes or no or not. So wouldn't it just been the smarter choice? Is like Mace and I will take him under. You know, the two of them, teach him or something.
Yeah.
Put him take him and put him into hands that could utilize him properly, instead of giving him and keeping him in the hands of a rogue Jedi, which is basically what Qui-Gon was, and an inexperienced Padawan in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Actually, I like that because Mace Windu, like we were talking before, uses the dark side, but he balances it. And with
Hell,
Anakin,
right, he could have taught
feeling that the dark side's in him, he could have taught him how to balance.
Anakin Form 7.
Yeah.
To utilize that into a strength. Man, Anakin with Form 7, my God, he would have been unstoppable.
It's an interesting point to think about. I agree. Okay, what you're saying about Yoda and Mace would have probably been the perfect teachers for Anakin, but the proposal of Yoda obviously would have known Qui-Gon was going to do this. I don't know. I mean, we know he's rogue, right? We know Qui-Gon kind of walks to the beat of his own drum. But I'm thinking at this point in his life, maybe Qui-Gon has disagreed with the Council many times, but never gone against what they said. We don't have any proof that he's ever...
Didn't they make a reference in Episode 1 that he has gone against the Council's wishes before?
I don't know.
I think Obi-Wan said it or something, where he said that...
familiar.
Like... You've gone against the Council's wishes before, or something along those lines, where they kind of made a hint of it.
I think if Master Yoda thought that he was going to do it without their okay, I don't think he would have done it. I think Yoda would have said, "You cannot." If we tell you, I think he would have. If he thought that, I think he would have told Qui-Gon, "No, you must do what the Council says."
But screw that. Yoda should have used reverse psychology. Go ahead, train a little bastard, and then Qui-Gon been like, this wasn't a good idea.
I kind of do got my own little what if.
Okay, go ahead.
What if Mace Windu didn't die? What if Palpatine got killed off right then and there? If Anakin listened to him, would it just continue, or would Anakin eventually go off to the dark side on his own?
Another one of those what if.
Snoke probably would have made a quicker appearance.
What if Palpatine was killed right there by Mace?
Then Mace becomes Emperor.
What if Anakin killed
bitches?
Mace?
Double-sided purple lightsaber.
Double-sided, dude, that'd be bad.
Unless if Mace Windu killed Palpatine and then Anakin killed Mace Windu after that, because he was so high strung about Palpatine. He's like, "Oh, don't kill him. He's my friend. I love him."
And Anakin becomes the Emperor.
I love him. No.
And Ahsoka would have been Darth Vader. So let's think about that for a second. So if Anakin, so Mace kills him.
Yeah,
and Anakin flips out at that moment.
Yeah, because he was looking,
So he obviously would have been. He would have been.
So was Palpatine?
I wish he wouldn't have done that.
So was Palpatine that father figure to Anakin?
Palpatine was the.
Yeah. So that's why he looked up to him more than Obi-Wan. He picked, the dark side.
Okay. So let's say Mace kills the Emperor or kills Palpatine before he becomes the Emperor. Let's say Anakin loses his head. Is there any way Anakin beats Mace?
I think there's a good shot.
You could have just pushed him out the window.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Because I think because Form 7 uses it uses the opponent's hate against them and kind of fuels his own form. So the madder he gets, the more powerful Mace gets.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's got the purple lightsaber.
That's actually how he beat Palpatine in that fight. On top of that, he has that ability to use Shatterpoint, where he can witness weak points
in it's always been purple.
His opponent's form.
Does anyone else believe that there's no way Obi-Wan would have beat him?
Obi-Wan? What?
Have you ever
beaten Anakin?
Have you ever sat back after watching that and said...
He did beat him.
Obi-Wan did beat him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Does anyone else think, after you watched it a couple times, been like, yeah, that's kind of bullshit?
No,
Anakin jumped off
Obi-Wan
the fucking...
Right, and I know that's the only way...
Well, they made a video game already. I was telling you about this, where Anakin did kill Obi-Wan, when he did the flip, and he did it successfully, and killed Obi-Wan. He fell off into the fire. Obi-Wan's dead and gone. He just continued on. Everything is normal, but he just didn't get the Vader suit.
I think it's very possible that Anakin was toying with him a lot of that duel. I think Obi-Wan was fighting with everything he had. I think it's possible Anakin was toying with him a little bit. But
why do you think that, though? Because Obi-Wan taught Anakin everything he knows.
Well, Anakin's one weakness was his overconfidence.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Like, I am more powerful than you now. And let me show you. You got the high ground. Well, I can overcome that. Obi-Wan's like, no, I've got the high ground. There's no way you can beat me right now.
Right.
He's like, oh yeah, watch this. He's probably thinking, you stupid son.
So Obi-Wan Kenobi's being a strategist that he was.
Mm-hmm.
That's what won the battle for him.
I think we're also missing a big point of like Padme. That changed a lot of Anakin though as well, going into the dark side.
And Padme
he had all those
wouldn't have-
dreams and freaking out about
Padme
her dying.
wouldn't
So
have
he
died.
and he fell into Plagueis's thing saying, "Oh, you can bring her back to life. You have the ability." Blah blah. But
I think this.
If she didn't
goes
die-
to show you that bitches make people crazy.
Word.
If she didn't die, or if Anakin wouldn't have died, or thought she died, then would she have gone to the dark side too, or would he just snap out of it and go back to the Jedi Temple and shit like that because he didn't need
I
to?
think he would have killed her on accident. I think it would have been very.
Well,
similar.
he did kill. He choked her out.
One of the what if videos I saw was basically that same thing. What if Padme did not die after giving birth? And the video basically summarized saying that she would have still saw good in Anakin, and she would have gone after Anakin to bring him back over to the light. And eventually, his love for her would have trumped everything that Palpatine has been telling him, and he would eventually come back to the light side with if I remember correctly, with the help of Obi-Wan. Him and Obi-Wan would meet up again and basically fight the Emperor to basically a standstill to allow them to escape. And then he would basically live out the rest of his life with Padme, jumping from planet to planet, keeping away from Palpatine.
That's kind of my point about, I think Anakin probably should have destroyed Obi-Wan in that battle, because think about it. Okay, he is the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And at the moment that they start battling, he has already succumbed to the dark side. He's killed kids, right? So he's basically like, hatred is inside of him.
His eyes turned yellow.
Right. And the dark side has consumed him. Now, the only thing that kept him a Jedi, kept him normal, was his love for her. So he thinks she just died and betrayed him. And so at this moment that they're about to fight, he thinks Padme betrayed him, Obi-Wan betrayed him, and Padme's now dead.
No, Padme.
Well, he didn't think she was dead.
Padme was not.
She was unconscious.
She was unconscious. Yeah. He was not told that she was dead until after he got cut in half.
Because he asked, "Where's Padme?"
Like, where's Padme?
She died at childbirth because he had the dreams of her dying at birth.
I'm afraid
that's what killed her.
Right.
Your anger has killed her, or something.
Yeah, or something like that.
But even then, with going from Anakin battling Obi-Wan, I don't think Obi-Wan should have won that fight in the first place, just considering I think they built Obi-Wan up a little too much. Because Obi-Wan wasn't even supposed to be considered a Jedi.
Right.
Obi-Wan in the trials,
No, I love Obi-Wan.
And this actually goes back to with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's last apprentice before Obi-Wan had turned to the dark side, and Qui-Gon said he was done training Padawans. He didn't want any more Padawans because that kind of scarred him a little bit with Qui-Gon. But they went to this dueling thing where the Padawans kind of show off or the younglings kind of show off their lightsaber skills and all this and that. And Obi-Wan had never got picked. Ended up finding work at an agricultural thing at this planet, and Qui-Gon was sent to that same planet on some sort of mission where he met his old apprentice, where his old apprentice tried to kill Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan jumped in and saved Qui-Gon's life.
Yeah.
That's when Qui-Gon took Obi-Wan under his wing. When Obi-Wan didn't even show that strong of sensitivity with the Force in the first place.
So Qui-Gon.
So he was actually
Obi-Wan.
built up to what I think. Don't get me wrong. I like Obi-Wan. I'm a big fan of Obi-Wan, but I think they built him up to more than what he should have been.
I'm just saying. Okay, think about.
Well,
this.
he was able to stand toe to toe with Anakin because he learned the all defensive form, lightsaber form. Mm-hmm. This was after Qui-Gon got killed by Maul. After he got killed by Maul, he learned that all defensive lightsaber style. which was almost impervious defense.
Do you think you need to learn how to use a lightsaber before you can fight with one?
Well, that's what they did with Luke.
Well, that's what they did with Finn and Rey.
Well, we don't know. Finn might have had some sort of training. We don't know.
Or Rey, you know. I mean...
Well, in regards to Finn was a stormtrooper. We know that. Mm-hmm. Stormtroopers have had melee weapon training. As you saw, stun baton or whatever. So they have had melee weapon training. So, I mean, he could utilize it, not to its full extent, but, I mean, he could use it in Rey, too.
Let me ask you guys this. Anakin in Episode 3, before he gets hurt, and is in the height of his power, right? Anakin versus Yoda. Who wins?
Yoda.
That easily?
For sure.
I think Yoda would win.
Yoda has so much more experience than Anakin.
He's 700 years
but you guys are not giving... You're not getting...
No, but Anakin's got all that frustration built up. His mother just died.
But wait, and also, it's just pure talent. There's
but if he almost killed...
Like, Yoda is a badass.
Palpatine.
Yoda's a badass. We all agree that. But Yoda is, like, at that point, 500 years old. Yoda's... Probably when he was a young man, was not a badass. A young whatever he is. A young alien.
He would be 870 years old.
What is
Yoda probably became badass through all of his wisdom and experience and trials that he went through and overcome.
Well, it doesn't matter. The point is
Anakin has
awesome
raw talent. Raw talent.
Doesn't matter. I don't think it matters.
So did
wisdom trumps power.
Palpatine.
I think Yoda probably wins that battle, but not as easily as you guys are making it sound.
I'm not saying it'd be easy.
I figured it'd be one hell of a match, but
I'm not saying it'd be easy.
No, think about it, Dad. You
without a doubt, I believe Yoda would win that match.
You used to be a football coach, right? Would you rather take a player with amazing talent or a player that works hard every day and has had years of experience and training and skill?
Okay, I'm going to give you the honest answer about that, okay?
He's like, I coach baseball.
The honest answer is a coach...
Chris went through this.
A coach would want the kid that puts in 110%. Because that's just what a coach is like looking for.
Yeah, but the kid's already good.
But if you're the owner of the team, you want the talent.
Yeah,
that's just what a coach does. Is a coach wants to see like loyalty.
Well, they want a name as well.
Coaches are done with that shit. We want talent already on the field. We ain't got time to train shit.
Right.
Well, that's just my opinion.
I know. I'm just saying, man. I don't know. Like Anakin's talent level was through the roof. So I'm just saying, maybe he doesn't kill in that battle. Maybe he doesn't beat Yoda, but I think it's an epic battle. And then so now compare Obi-Wan and Anakin, and I think that puts a little more perspective on it. Like Obi-Wan would have got his ass kicked with Yoda.
Remember Palpatine?
He held up a good fight though with Anakin.
Well, the Emperor also keeps bringing up his mother's death to him too. He's like, "Remember what you told me about
the sand
people and your mother?" And that's all he said. And then you see Anakin's face get even more pissed off, and then he went to go pick up Obi-Wan, and that's when he told him to leave him and shit. But
I don't think you're all giving Obi-Wan enough credit. I mean, Obi-Wan was one of the very few Jedi that were able to turn into a Force ghost after his death. He wasn't like...
That's because he trained with Qui-Gon while he was on Tatooine. Qui-Gon was actually the first Jedi to master that task.
You know what I think? I think if Obi-Wan... And I'll let you finish... Finn, but I think if Obi-Wan doesn't get trained by Qui-Gon, he's not half the Jedi that he becomes.
Nope.
I think Qui-Gon's influence on Obi-Wan made Obi-Wan a lot better Jedi than... Obi-Wan is the eternal overachiever, right? He does things all the time when you're like, wow.
Oh, you know what? I got a one.
He used to kiss ass.
I got a really good one.
But let me go back to what Finn was saying. Go ahead, finish your cheer for Obi-Wan.
I'm just saying, I think Obi-Wan deserves more credit than what he gets because I think about the battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in Episode 4. Who do you think would have won that one? Because it seems
that
like
wasn't even a battle.
You just said that.
It seems like Obi-Wan was in control most of the time, though.
No. I think the whole reason that he basically sacrificed his life because he knew he had no shot.
And he was trying to get the other people
Vader
out.
I don't know.
He was like, my hip is cramping, and Vader's sitting there like, I got a robotic cramp.
I think Obi-Wan saw the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like...
I'm old.
Yeah, he saw the bigger picture because he knew he wasn't getting past Vader.
No.
You
I
can't
think
kill him
he
because
saw
that's
that
Luke's job. Luke's job's going to be the one to
isn't
kill
it
him.
at one point where he looks over at Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he looks back,
Mm-hmm.
He
and then he realizes that
This is the destiny thing.
if anybody can bring him back, he can.
Yeah.
Because isn't it at this point that Vader does not know that that's his son right there?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At this point. But Obi-Wan does.
Right.
He's like,
R2 knew.
R2 knows everything.
And
It's
I don't think so. I
can
thought
kind of
fine.
see where you're going
fine,
with
strike
that.
me down. Okay.
I
just goes on.
I can kind of see
And he
where you're going
disappeared,
with that
though.
because
Why did he
said-
disappear?
Well, this was what?
Yoda disappeared too.
77
Well, he disappeared.
special effects.
Well, he disappeared. I mean, they did later on. I think originally there was no.
They're just like,
They weren't
Oh,
gonna.
he's
They
not
weren't
there.
gonna explain that, but now they have explained it. Like he did that because that he went into that like meditation right before he died, which is the same thing Qui-Gon did right before he died. And this is how you become a Force ghost. You have to go and you have to like say a prayer and give up your life. I think.
give yourself to the Force, basically.
Right. So Yoda did not against an enemy, but again at the will of the Force. He knew it was time.
That's why Yoda disappeared, too.
Yeah, and he gave up
Okay.
his will to the Force to become a Force ghost. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, I was like, all right, because Qui-Gon was supposed to go bad with Dooku, right?
So,
Okay, so what if he lived Qui-Gon whatever. So at the scene of Episode 2 when Obi-Wan and Anakin were fighting Dooku, right? What if Qui-Gon was on Dooku's side helping him fight, and Yoda came out of nowhere? You remember?
Qui-Gon comes in out of the shadows or something.
Yeah. So what if Qui-Gon was on the other side of that fighting Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan and Yoda. Or Obi-Wan
Because
and...
Anakin got knocked out, he got his hand chopped off, he was in the corner, passed out, and it was just Obi-Wan by himself, and then Yoda came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. What if Qui-Gon was in that fight? You think Qui-Gon would have been killed off there, or do you think he would have killed off? What if he killed Obi-Wan there?
So Qui-Gon as a bad guy.
Yeah, he comes back. What if he killed Obi-Wan?
Qui-Gon would have never killed Obi-Wan.
He could have.
And plus, at that point... Yeah, I
He
don't
loved
think...
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved him, but still that dark side. You seen Anakin though loved.
I don't think Qui-Gon...
Well, with Qui-Gon, you got to understand who Qui-Gon was, though.
Yeah.
Before all this shit, because Qui-Gon almost did turn to the dark side.
He was supposed
before
to.
all this. It's not that he was supposed to, but what happened was when he was growing up in the academy, he had this secret love between him and another Padawan, and she had got killed by a Sith. Now, he had got away. He had taken Tal, the woman he loved, took her to like this infirmary, and they stayed in there and they treated her, but she still died. Then he got pissed, hunted him down, and then Qui-Gon started getting like these voices in his head saying, "No, you're going down the wrong path. This isn't the way of the Jedi. This isn't blah 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 blah." And from then on, just kind of let the Force guide him that voice in his head for whatever he did. Kind of like the voice of reasoning when it was kind of like his conscious, but as her. What would she say?
Yeah.
Kind of. You know what I mean?
But I'm just saying.
So I don't think he would turn. I think there would be a big ass controversy if he did live and they wanted him to go. I just don't think he would successfully turn to the dark side.
But let's just say though, like, what if he did though was on the other side? What do you think the outcome of that fight would have been?
Nah, he wouldn't have killed Obi-Wan.
Okay, but he could have killed Yoda. He could have killed Anakin. You don't know, or he could have just died then too. Or
I don't think he would. I don't know if he
better what if? Okay, let's say Qui-Gon lives. He does not. Let's say Dooku approaches him and say, "Hey, come join us." He says no. I'm like, okay, what if he's there with Obi-Wan and Anakin when they confront Dooku, And it's
What if
three of them.
Yoda's?
But Yoda would be there before.
No. I'm talking Qui-Gon,
Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and
and
Anakin.
Anakin. The three of them, they go on the ship to rescue Palpatine and confront Dooku.
And all three of them.
Are on there.
Dooku.
That would have been pretty good, but
I think Dooku would be fucked. I mean, obviously, because up with Anakin himself.
The number game eventually.
I think Qui-Gon would know about Palpatine. Like, he knows that this is a setup and shit like that, and he's really not kidnapped, and he's really... I think he would feel it.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think between the three of them, I think Qui-Gon would kind of have the inside track.
Yeah.
But something's not right here.
But
something smells fishy.
That's like what Mace Windu was even thinking, too. Mace Windu was thinking that.
In that fight, I don't think they would have killed Dooku, however.
Because
they would have outpowered him very easily, like, with those three themselves, with Qui-Gon even being Dooku's old apprentice.
And I don't even think Palpatine's ballsy enough to take on all three of them.
No.
Well, we see Palpatine take out 3 Jedis all at once with Mace Windu's aside. He just did that crazy fucking spiral thing. He's like, you know?
Yeah, but Qui-Gon was also considered one of the best lightsaber duelists at a very young age. He got old and fucking feeble when he got older. That's how Maul was able to defeat him, because the age difference and the body.
I don't think Maul even really was able to defeat him. I think he just let him.
But I think in that fight, I don't know. I think Palpatine still could have taken him, because I'm sure he would have taken Obi-Wan out quick. But
are you talking about whether Qui-Gon would go to the dark side or not?
Well, that's what they were saying.
Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Obi-Wan.
That's what they were saying. And then he was saying that he would resist going to the dark side. And I was like, okay, then what if it was Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Obi-Wan that ended up going to rescue Palpatine on the ship and confronting Dooku?
I was going to say, in Qui-Gon's defense, I don't think Qui-Gon would ever go to the dark side.
Right.
I think he would be rogue completely, but I think he would be more like Ahsoka, and more like, well, you guys have lost your mind, and I'm definitely not going to be a dark side user.
So they don't kill Dooku. They restrain him or whatever. Palpatine doesn't give the kill order because there's the 3 Jedi sitting in front of him.
I think Palpatine still would.
He would say kill, and then, but see, Qui-Gon would be like, that's not what we
He'd be the stronger one out of the 2.
Where was Palpatine's demise? Where did he go wrong?
Where did he go wrong?
Overconfidence. Which is usually the downfall of every dark side user. But yeah, he became too overconfident that Vader couldn't defeat. Maybe he did think about, Vader, I gotta replace him because Vader is gonna turn on me one of these days. And I think every Sith kind of lives under that mentality of, I need to pass on some knowledge, but I know someday he's going to try and kill me.
So wait, it was Darth Maul was his apprentice, and Maul died, and then Dooku took that spot? Is that how it went?
Yeah,
and then after Dooku died, then Anakin obviously.
Right.
Okay, I have a question. So, how do you think Palpatine's plan would have all unfolded if Qui-Gon never did die? Let's say Qui-Gon brought up Anakin.
So after episode 1, because we were kind of talking about this a couple weeks ago. What if Qui-Gon didn't die?
Yeah, I think this is a really good question.
And Maul escapes. Let's say Maul doesn't quote unquote die, even though we know he doesn't die. He escapes. Obi-Wan, I don't think they promote Obi-Wan to Jedi Knight. I say that he's still
a Padawan.
He would still be a Padawan under.
Are we saying Qui-Gon? Qui-Gon. Okay, so Qui-Gon.
So Qui-Gon's alive.
Qui-Gon's alive also.
Let's say Qui-Gon is alive also. Yeah, I think a couple weeks ago it was Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan doesn't beat Maul. Maul escapes. He just escapes or whatever.
And Qui-Gon lives. Are you building up to the question that would Anakin get trained?
No, because a couple of weeks ago we were kind of spitting back and forth, and at that time we were talking about if, let's say, Qui-Gon dies, that happens, but instead of Obi-Wan killing Maul, quote unquote, Maul escapes. Some distraction causes destruction. He gets out of there because he can't beat him.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking? Would Anakin then be sent back to Tatooine or something like that?
Who would have trained him?
Who would have trained Anakin?
You remember Maul was at Tatooine as well. Maybe Maul could have picked up Anakin's presence being there and could have took Anakin early.
And you're saying if Qui-Gon still lived.
Yeah, for this week, so let's say he lived.
In episode 1, Qui-Gon actually tells Obi-Wan, he's like, because Obi-Wan was like, no one's ever taken on 2 apprentices. Well, like, why would you take on a second apprentice? And Qui-Gon actually tells Obi-Wan, he's like, there is nothing left for me to teach you.
Right.
You have gone on, I have showed you everything I can show you. It's, it's you from here on out.
Do with it what
Or
like, take what I taught you and you progress. And so I think he would kind of, even if the council approved of it or not, whether, he be a Jedi Knight or stick around to Padawan, I think they would kind of keep it under wraps and say, hey, Obi-Wan's my Padawan, and kind of train Anakin in secret.
Well, that's what they did.
I would think.
That's what they were doing. He's like, I can't train you literally or technically, but just watch every move I do and watch everything I...
Mm-hmm.
Right, but it ultimately would not have been up to... It's up to the council when you graduate, when you become a Jedi, official Jedi.
And that's why Anakin was all bitchy and pissy when he found out that they weren't letting him become a Jedi Master yet.
So then,
but they were letting him
based
on
on
the
that,
council.
then the council would then, let's say, Qui-Gon has nothing more to teach Obi-Wan, so then the next step would have been the council would have had Obi-Wan go through the trials.
Right. And he never went through the trials.
And he never went through the trials.
He got propelled into that position because he killed the Sith.
Skipped a grade.
Right, he skipped a grade.
Killed the Sith Lord or whatever.
So the new question this week, what we were saying, what started this question?
It was...
What if Qui-Gon lived?
What if Qui-Gon lived and, let's say, Maul escapes? And Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan both live.
Okay, so the council still stands where they stand of, we don't want you to train.
Yeah, we'll see what would happen afterwards.
I think he still would train Anakin.
I think at that point...
It'd be a Ahsoka Anakin type thing.
I think at that point, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan would have left the Jedi Order.
Both of them.
I don't think Obi-Wan would have strayed because
Qui-Gon
was always the one to stray away from the... Qui-Gon was always the one that would kind of, shy away from the council, when Obi-Wan was always Qui-Gon Jinn's voice of reasoning.
But so Qui-Gon says, well, I have to train him, and if you refuse to be a part of it, then I am leaving the council to train him the way that I see fit, so that he will become a Jedi, with or without your say-so.
Wait, are we talking about training Anakin or Obi-Wan?
Right, training Anakin.
Anakin is almost like a younger version of Qui-Gon Jinn.
So at that point, you don't think...
But he just chose the wrong path.
At that point, you don't think Obi-Wan says, well, if he's leaving, I'm leaving with him. He's my master. You think Obi-Wan would have actually stayed on the council?
I think Obi-Wan...
If Qui-Gon told him to stay, yeah.
What if Qui-Gon... This is your path. And he doesn't tell him anything. He doesn't tell him, you have to stay or you have to come with me. What would his initial reaction...
I think he would stay.
I think he would stay.
I think given a choice between the two, I think his love for the council would outweigh his love for...
Nah, he would have taken Anakin. He could have taken Anakin with him, but I think Obi-Wan would have stayed.
Anakin and Padme would have never...
And in doing that, I think Obi-Wan would stick around with the council, and I think, Qui-Gon Jinn leaves the temple to train Anakin. I don't think the council would do anything about that because, we've seen with Ahsoka, you want to be part of the council? Nah, I'm good. And went her own path. There is nothing...
Yeah.
They would not be able to stop Qui-Gon from leaving, let alone training him on his own time.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I don't think the council would have tried to stop Qui-Gon from leaving. I think that they would have said, okay, if that's the way you feel. because you have to remember the Jedi were very full of themselves at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to bring up this because I think Obi-Wan would have left with Qui-Gon, and I'm going to bring this point up. Why? His love and allegiance for Qui-Gon, I think you guys are underestimating. When Anakin comes onto the scene as a little kid, Obi-Wan doesn't really like him. Remember?
Yeah, Obi-Wan didn't.
There's
He's like, you should leave him. Don't.
There's a lot of like Obi-Wan's like, nah.
Jealousy?
Maybe a little bit of jealousy because
he saw that
taking an interest in somebody more than him.
Right, because I think Obi-Wan was like, he didn't have a dad, or his dad. I don't know his dad, but his dad wasn't part of his life.
Yeah,
whoever he was. And Qui-Gon was his father figure. So when he's like, at first Anakin, yes, it's jealousy, but also maybe Obi-Wan senses the same thing Yoda and Mace and all of them do. Like, nah, this kid's got issues. I think maybe we should just leave him here.
Or maybe he's seen history repeat itself from Qui-Gon's last apprentice, who he thought was the chosen one. And it turned out it ended up going to the dark side and trying to kill him with, what you said before. Obi-Wan was there to save his life.
Who is it? Who? Sifo Dyas? Or who is
it? Always with Sifo Dyas, this guy.
Sifo Dyas is the missing piece of the
puzzle. No, Qui-Gon had an apprentice before all of this.
Oh, okay.
Who was high in midichlorians, thought was the chosen one, taught
him.
The
council was like, dude, every week with you, it's the chosen one.
It's just the chosen one.
They didn't really think there was anything wrong with that. Because they're just like, every week he's got the chosen one.
Master Yoda, it's Qui-Gon here to see you again. God!
Okay, I found this kid. He's the chosen one. This is the chosen one, I swear. This time I'm telling the truth.
I can't believe this.
Let's see. You found the chosen one?
He's like, no. He's like, no, I didn't find the chosen one, smart ass. Well, what you got? I got this kid here that I think he's really smart, and someone might have chosen him.
See, I kind of want to go back on, like, all right, if Qui-Gon left, Obi-Wan stayed, took Anakin, Qui-Gon took Anakin. See,
Obi-Wan would have stayed.
Qui-Gon would have been a lot stricter on Anakin. He wouldn't have let him go around, see Padme, all that. He would have had Anakin locked.
I think if he truly believed Anakin was the chosen one, he would have trained him differently than Obi-Wan did.
So, and then what would happen with Luke still would have been? And,
Well,
what about Luke?
If Luke and Leia didn't exist, if Qui-Gon had such a strong vote, because the Jedis couldn't have a love, they couldn't have any relationships. Yeah. So what if he had good strong on Anakin? Anakin couldn't go nowhere, hit him in the sights, but yet he was so pissed off at Qui-Gon for being like that, and they ended up fighting.
No, I think Qui-Gon.
What would have happened was.
So what if it's Qui-Gon and Anakin?
This is what would have happened.
No milk and cookies. Go to bed, Anakin. You pissed me off for once tonight.
Qui-Gon would have
going to bed.
Qui-Gon would have been hitting Shmi. And he would have been like, no, you can't have a girlfriend. You're the chosen one, and that's against it. And he would have been like, dude, you're banging my mom.
No, all these Jedis have their love affair.
Right, don't worry about what I'm doing.
Spoke Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah, I think he would have been trying to be strict on him. Like, you can't have a woman. You can't
because he doesn't want anything to fuck up his path.
But we all know, had Qui-Gon lived, he would have been hitting Shmi.
He's gonna be like, Master Qui-Gon, I need something. My forearm is the size of Popeye's. He could have had a gay relation with Jar Jar.
Instead of Luke Skywalker, there have been
he was the nicest one.
Luke Jin.
See, I think he didn't really think Anakin was the chosen one. I think he was just trying to get in Shmi's pants.
No, what if Qui-Gon and Shmi had a kid?
In the Jedi Order, alright? How's that sound?
Okay, what if they did get together?
So what if
Shmi and Qui-Gon, their kid was the chosen?
Now I got the kid.
Whose kid?
What if Shmi and Qui-Gon had a kid and that kid grew up? Would that be taken over for this race?
Qui-Gon would not be hitting some nasty ass, dirty ass, tattoo enslaved.
Dude, the whole time he was there with Shmi, he was like,
he was hitting on her too. He tried to free her.
Hardcore. When they had the dinner.
Yeah, he's like, look at this bitch. He's fucking.
He says something to her and she's like,
you want some fruit? I got you some fruit. He's like,
he like whispers in her ear, I want some of that slave pussy.
She's like, okay, it's not clean, but okay.
What if...
It got sand.
What if Thanos gave Qui-Gon the pussy stone?
Oh my god.
Cover your ears, Finn.
Qui-Gon would be hitting everything between Yoda and Shmi and Anakin.
Anakin. Like I got you a ring.
Like, Anakin, I need you in the bedroom. Why? Just shut up!
No, I've noticed this whole time we've been doing this. You have had that book in front of you. Yeah. What was your what if? You haven't said nothing.
Oh yeah, did you even have any what ifs?
Yeah.
Did Yaddle and Yoda ever hook up?
Well, my what if is what if Qui-Gon Jinn lived, and what if Mace Windu lived after the fall, which he did live, but no one really says anything after what happens.
Yeah,
Say it again?
Window kind of drops off the radar after he falls out the window.
But we know he lived.
I think that's
what if Mace Windu and Obi-Wan had
I got a
contact?
pretty good what if.
I think that's because you got.
They were both on Tatooine, and maybe Mace Windu ditched Tatooine and went somewhere else.
And I got one. What if Plagueis is Snoke, and he is actually Anakin's father? The same shit we've already talked about.
Yeah,
and
we were talking about that. Chris and I were talking about that too.
What if Luke saved Vader from taking off the mask and all that shit and got him off? What would Vader be like?
The Family Guy.
He's like, I want to see you with your own eyes. Okay, well now let's puzzle piece this son of a bitch back together.
Well, it would have been dead by...
I still want to play catch with you, Dad.
Because he was dying anyways after Palpatine fucked up with him.
Right. Well, you mean like if he got him to the hospital and...
Or yeah, like if he got him saved and all that shit.
How much longer do you think Vader would have lived? Do you think he would have made it to
It could have been a Padme thing.
Yeah, I think he would have made it to episode
all
7.
over.
I think he would have made it to 7 for sure.
We need an artificial.
Well, who's that old guy that was talking to Poe at the beginning? That guy was
don't know yet.
He's pretty old. We don't know where he came from.
Like if Vader lived, let's say, what would his suit look like? Because obviously they change that up.
It'd be
he needs
white.
a respirator to
It'd be white.
breathe. So, what do you have, like a Bane type mask?
I saw a meme.
Hello there, son. Let's play some football.
I saw a really funny meme. It had Vader. It was a cartoon meme. It had Vader, and he was like pushing a button on the control panel, and he's like, all this time there was a silent mode.
I saw that one. There's another one I saw today where it's like at what was it? At 19 years old, what was it? Anakin became a general in the army and led to save the galaxy or something like that. It's like at 19 years old, Padme was a leader of a government or world, and she saved her people from all this stuff.
That's Queen Amidala.
At 19 years old, Princess Leia was, a senator or something like that, or she was a general, blah, 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 blah. And then it says at 19 years old, Luke was making vroom vroom sounds with his toys. It shows him, he's playing with his little shits.
Oh yeah, wasn't he in the bedroom?
Yeah.
He's like, come up here, it's time for dinner.
I don't want to play right now. Leave me alone.
I want to be
Oh my god.
I've got.
You don't come down here right now.
Did you see the robot chicken with the stormtroopers accidentally set the fire in the house on accident? He's like, why don't you guys stay? He's like, we gotta go. It's like, I smell smoke. He's like, they're all burning and shit. They walk out on fire. They roast by the door. It's like, we'll just blame it on the sand people walking a file.
What's your
All right.
Alright, so what if in episode 6, Lando and, their little squad that went into the Death Star to blow up its core, what if they failed? What if they crashed inside?
Shit! Going too fast! What was the thing that was like his co-pilot?
Yeah. I could do that conversation with Han, like, yeah, Lando's dead and everyone on the Falcon died. So where's the Falcon?
It's like, don't, not scratch on it or something like that.
So what if...
You son of a bitch! He didn't even give 2 shits about Lando.
It's like, fuck Lando.
Palpatine, Luke and Vader, they still kill Palpatine and everything, but the Death Star doesn't blow up. Like, they get captured or something. At the end, what would happen?
There's a void in leadership. By that, I think by that time, people are starting to evacuate.
You guys know the original ending for Jedi? That after Vader died, Luke was supposed to put on the mask and say, I am now Vader.
Really?
And Luke was supposed to become
Luke probably would have put on that mask and go, God damn! He hasn't brushed his teeth in decades.
No, but he was supposed to put on the mask, or he's supposed to say something, now I am Vader, and get the fuck out of there.
I did it.
Oh god, it smells like it smells like an old baseball hat
like
you've
Steve
worn
Smock.
with onions and roast beef.
Oh, God.
Peppers.
Well, so what's interesting is we may never know what George Lucas's original 9 stories.
Yeah, but see, Lucas wanted to do that for the ending, but Steven Spielberg told him, no, that's not a good ending, blah, 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 we should do this. So technically, the ending that Lucas wanted was that shit one where Luke goes bad. And
Don't you guys wonder what happened in Lucas's version of 7, 8, 9, though? I mean, I've thought about that.
He's probably already got them written and locked away in a vault, and probably won't come out until he dies.
Yeah, didn't you say that they were written years ago?
Yeah. The original 9.
No. I have a what if. Okay, Leia was captured by Jabba.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Jabba can do whatever he wants with this bitch, right? What if one of the pig people or Jabba himself had raped Leia and made some kind of crazy ass Jabba Force baby?
There's actually a video for this.
Jabba Force baby.
There's actually
It'd be like that Pumpy Monkey Baby or that Mountain Dew commercial where it's like all fucked up. It's got baby legs and a pug face and a...
It's like, oh god.
I actually saw a video on YouTube. I didn't watch it. The title was Leia Jabba's sex slave.
Did you see like Luke Skywalker walk in?
Now I'm sad I didn't watch it.
And this fat thing that looks like Luke Skywalker comes rolling. I was like, Uncle Luke, great to see you. Come on in. You want to see my bedroom?
There was a baby Jabba. Remember?
Yeah.
Anyone ever saw the Clone Wars movie?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was Jabba.
That was Jabba's baby.
No, that was Jabba, wasn't it?
Episode 2?
That was Jabba's baby?
No, in the original Clone Wars movie that actually went to the theaters, it was god-awful. I fell asleep.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yes.
That was alright. Obi-Wan had the Stormtrooper.
Well, Attack of the Clones, Jabba the Hutt was in there too, wasn't it? Jabba the Hutt, or was episode 3?
No, he was in Phantom Menace.
Okay, yeah, Phantom Menace during the pod race.
You know,
right?
Jabba wasn't even supposed to be that alien guy in the original first movie. It was some big fat dude wearing like a fur outfit and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like... He almost was like a...
So he ended up capturing Luke.
And George
in
Lucas
that ice cave.
We can make Jabba look like a pile of dog shit. People like it. I'm George Lucas.
Lucas is watching his cat take a shit.
He's like, that looks like Jabba the Hutt. We're going to name that guy Jabba the Hutt.
No.
Pile of cat shit.
No, the cat's name is Jabba.
Yeah, the cat's name is Jabba.
That looks like a good character name.
Jabba.
He's like, wait, he's sitting there looking at the pile of cat shit.
Cat
He's like,
shit with eyes.
let's make these googly eyes.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That looks good.
It's Jabba the Hutt. I'm like, honey, get out of here. Look at this pile of cat shit.
I can see that. He's like, Jabba. That's it. He needs a name.
He calls Steven
There's a
Spielberg.
Pizza Hut
You
box
gotta
over
check
there.
this out.
Hut. Jabba the Hutt. Oh my god, I'm a genius.
He calls up Steven Spielberg. Get over here. You need to see this.
This is pile of cat shit.
His cat's name is Jabba.
Yeah.
And the cat laughs like,
Some big fat cat laying out fucking Dairy Queen ice cream. Shit. Oh my gosh! You got Jabba the Hutt. Steven, get over here right now.
I like cat poop.
What is dog shit? What do you think it is?
No.
So to wrap this up, I want to bring it back to Rogue One for a moment, okay? Because that's where we started with all this crazy talk. That's where we'll end it. What do you guys want to see? What do you personally want to see in Rogue One?
I want to see Jyn Erso be Princess Leia.
No.
That's all I want.
No one else
and I don't give a shit about the movie then.
Ralph is
You heard it here first.
I want to see, and we've touched on this. I want to see if what's her fucking name?
Jyn Erso.
No, is that female? Yeah,
The female
Well,
one, yeah.
I want to see her be force sensitive. Because we already know that the blind guy is force sensitive. You're fucking blind.
Right.
And you're beating the shit out of people with a stick.
Well, that's the
He is force sensitive.
He is force sensitive.
But this was
But he's not a Jedi.
But he's not a Jedi because there was no Jedi temple to train him in.
No.
Now, so I would like to see her be force sensitive in this movie.
Makes sense.
And kind of play that up to the
Isn't
next.
it kind of like what Rey is?
Kind of like
yeah,
because
she
has
like
no
she
training.
doesn't know she's force sensitive.
Something I want.
Or is this Rey's mom?
Or it's not her mom.
Princess Leia, damn it.
Talking about Rey.
Look at that dumb
I
shit.
wanted to bring it up earlier. Never got
What if Rey was just conceived
All right.
out of a fucking gutter?
No, because I know.
Jabba shit.
Jabba
Jabba shit.
So we're talking about Rey for a moment. All right.
Because I know me and you are on the same page as this shit. I know you want to hear their input
Go ahead.
too.
Go ahead.
What do you guys think of Rey? Because in my opinion, and I talked to Jeremy, his opinion too is, I would like to see Rey as Palpatine's granddaughter.
Oh, it's Obi-Wan's daughter.
Rey
I think Rey's dark side.
Well, as far as going dark, I don't think so. Like, I think it could be revealed, like, she's the granddaughter or whatever of Palpatine. Maybe Palpatine had cracked Plagueis' code and kind of created her out of the air, you know, or something. Or there's some lineage there
Palpatine's
somehow.
laying on the bed, shitting out Rey. Get out of my body!
But when it comes down to it, I think Rey ends up making the choice that Vader doesn't.
Got his legs in stirrups.
To resist the dark side.
It's Leia and Jabba's daughter.
Alright, so
I like where you're going.
Let me pose this what if to you.
Okay.
What if Rey went dark side and killed Luke Skywalker?
Would you join Kylo Ren, or would Kylo Ren?
I think that would be one of the biggest disappointments in cinematic history. Really,
you think so?
I think
Or what if Rey controlled Kylo Ren to kill Han Solo? What if he really was going to give the whole Kylo Ren thing up, and then at the last minute, Rey's just like, fucked his mind and stabbed Han Solo?
Can you guys picture Chewbacca being
Yeah, but she was like crying afterwards.
Yeah, but she could have put an act on. She's a woman.
And going back to what you were saying,
cry over stupid
once
shit.
again, we had talked about this before. If Rey went to the dark side, would Kylo be on her side, or would Kylo
be on her
to
side?
go to the good?
Would Kylo train her? Would he be like would he be with her, or would he be like, that's my family. You just killed my family.
Because
now I have to redeem Luke.
Because then again, with the Sith rule, there can only be two. But Snoke doesn't consider himself a Sith.
Right.
Snoke hasn't even made an appearance in form. He's just been on that Jumbotron, or whatever the fuck they're called.
He's on the Jumbo hologram.
He's the Jumbo hologram.
He comes.
What if he's
actually
his
a
actual?
midget? Or he's a midget.
What if he's Yoda or something like that, reincarnated?
I'll tell you what I want to see in Rogue One. I want to see Vader decapitate somebody.
Yeah.
I want to see Vader.
I want to see Vader in action.
As a badass.
Back,
James Earl
back in the 70s, you're controlling this big robotic man, and the fight with fucking Luke and the fight with Obi-Wan is just like.
Yeah. He's a robot, though. He moves like a robot. If you think about it, he's a robot.
But
he still has one arm that's actually...
He, like, if you watch any of... Like, if you look in the comic books or watch, like, any of the videos of Vader now, he is pretty fucking light on his goddamn feet for being a robot.
Well, because he utilizes the Force on his body to make him...
I want to see him actually move at least somewhat similar. Obviously, it's not going to be just like it was before he was cut up, but I want to see him move at least a little bit similar to how it was.
Agreed.
It was.
I want to see a vicious Vader.
Wait, you know what's crazy though is Vader has no actual limbs for his hands because his good one got cut off, and then he had the robotic hand. How would he be
Yeah.
choking someone
doesn't he have
out.
one hand? I think he has one hand.
No, he got cut off.
Cut off.
And you remember in the thing, he had the robotic hand
Oh, yeah, you're
digging
right.
in the sand. So, like, would he still be able to...
Well, that's what we were saying about,
'Cause-
like, when he force chokes someone.
Yeah,
you don't need to do that. It's all in the mind.
Oh, yeah, well,
Maybe he does
how
because he
come
has to
Grievous-
do it.
How come
I think
Grievous
that was
couldn't
more
use
of
the
a
Force?
for the audience.
Yeah.
I do too.
To figure out what the hell they're doing.
Especially, you got to think about the first time we all are very familiar with Star Wars and what
'Cause
force chokes are and
Right,
everything.
because
He did it over-
sit there like this, and all of a sudden the guy's over there is choking, and everybody's like, "What the fuck's going
In
on?"
1977, yeah, in 1977, that's the first time.
Oh my god, he's choking, help him!
He did it over a Skype call.
His sister, he's just standing there all normal, just starts choking somebody out, and everyone's like, oh shit, and then Vader turns around and goes, oh, who the fuck is doing that? And then he's just like, gotcha.
So, yeah, in Empire, when he chokes the guy through the
monitor.
The first Skype chokehold.
He doesn't use his hands, does
He's
he?
just sitting there. And
It
he's
does. I don't think
In
you
Empire,
see. I don't think you see.
you see that side of the screen. You see the guy going,
That guy was just choking on roast
Vader
beef.
on
She's
that
like, don't
minute
disobey me.
It's like Xbox Connect.
Like
Yeah.
like he wanted to hear the voice. Like, who gave that order? I did, and he's locked onto it. Oh, okay. Now you're in charge.
I was watching the Robot
He
Chicken.
starts choking him, and the guy's like, just act like you're choking. And then he says that,
Oh, that
and then
was...
he falls over, and then he's like, okay, come here, gives him a fake mustache. He's like, okay, now you're this guy.
Wasn't that Family Guy that did that?
Yeah.
He just wants you to make
Yeah.
it seem like you're choking him so he feels like he's...
Yeah.
He's like... Yeah.
He's been killed 23 times already.
Yeah.
And they just throw different get up on him.
Alright, so I have a question.
Okay.
Who do you think is more powerful? Luke in his prime or Vader or Anakin in his prime?
Anakin. What is Luke's prime?
But
Empire Strikes Back when he gets a bunch of Tauntaun guts on him?
But think about it.
Obviously, Return of the
You're,
Jedi.
but okay, well, I know what you're
Okay,
saying.
that
Though,
Luke
like at their most
Skywalker
powerful,
versus
at their most powerful.
Anakin at Episode 3.
Anakin at his most
He's a lot
powerful,
taller
or Luke
than
at
Luke.
his most
People
powerful.
like,
I think it would be
And
an
I
evil.
think-
you down.
I think it would be pretty even, but I don't.
He's a lot
I think a lot of
taller.
people would say Anakin, but that wouldn't be fair because the only time we've ever seen Luke was back in the '70s films when they weren't, they didn't throw in so much.
Maybe
pizzazz as
they'll
they
have
do now.
Luke fight.
Alright,
In
but hold on.
actuality, I think probably when we see Luke in 8, he's probably going to be more powerful than he's ever been.
Yeah, he's gonna fight like they did with Yoda. They had to show Yoda's fighting skills. We need to see Luke Skywalker's fighting skills.
What if he was like the?
Hold on,
What if he
hold on.
fights like the Emperor? He does like those fucking crazy flips. and
But
stuff
like, think
that.
about it
Yeah.
though. The Emperor, at least in the books, I'm not so sure in the movies. The Emperor, he wanted Luke to replace Vader.
Yep.
So that means he had
That's why he told
more
him to
faith
kill him.
in Luke's abilities than he did in Vader's.
Well, but you're talking about, you said Anakin or Luke.
And Anakin in his
Vader
prime.
and Luke, it's totally
Yeah,
different.
totally different.
Mhm.
'Cause
Anakin
Luke,
pre-Vader
Luke
at
did,
his prime, and then Luke at his prime, which would have been Return of the Jedi.
And
Luke did kick his
Palpatine.
ass in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, but you gotta remember age gap. He's in a fucking
He's like a
suit.
robot. It's like fighting C-3PO.
And then, well, then you got to
Sorry,
think too in
Papa.
episode 3 when Sidious is fighting Yoda. He was telling Yoda that he is going to be that that Anakin is going to be a more powerful Sith than him or Yoda himself will ever be. So he knew that he was going to be more powerful than him in the first place, but then Obi-Wan kind of chopped him down.
It's kind of like why
And I think Sidious was just kind of like, well, fuck. Well, that kind of threw me back a little bit.
No, I think last time we were talking Star Wars, I said this. I think Palpatine allowed him to get cut up.
So he wouldn't be able to overthrow him.
I think Palpatine knew that eventually Anakin would be able to kill
What
him.
if they use Anakin's DNA to create a clone?
There's still talks
And that's
about that.
Darth Vader, and Snoke is actually Anakin.
There's still talks about them cloning Anakin, and they might use that in the movie.
That'd be cool. I was just gonna see. You think we're gonna see which is Hayden Christensen, which is the actor for Anakin in 3 and 2. You think he's going to be a Force ghost, like how we saw at the end of Jedi?
I think there's a good possibility.
But see, Darth Vader is really not that. You don't know nothing about Vader. Like, he's that powerful and all this shit. He just walks around and chokes people out. And
we know he's powerful.
Oh, we know he's powerful from what the movies say, but like in
the actual combat.
In actual combat in 3,
we don't see
4, or.
But we're gonna see that in Rogue One. Obviously, remember he was in the middle of combat and he was getting shot up. And
I hope so, man.
They're gonna have to show some fighting scenes with him.
I'm very perplexed at how much we're gonna see Vader. Like I've said many times, I think you could have easily put him in this movie for a half an hour screen time, and that wouldn't have seemed like too much to me in a 2-hour movie. But I think he's going to be... I personally think we're going to see less Vader than that.
See, I wonder how they're going to make these stormtroopers tie in, like the new suits and stuff, tie into the old ones.
The dark ones?
No, the sand ones where they look like scouts, but only they got like camouflage and everything, and it's like it's different looking. They're different. They're like maroon and white.
Beach troopers or something.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Where the you're talking about the scene where the AT-ACTs,
those.
And they're all running to the.
So they're stormtroopers with camouflage.
Well, they're like beach troopers.
Yeah, they're like.
It kind of sounds familiar.
STEVEs.
But
I don't know, but I know the Death.
Is that what they're called, beach troopers?
Or the black ones.
Well, because they have snow troopers.
They're all surfers coming.
You know, and then they had stormtroopers for.
They didn't look any different.
Normal. What, the snow ones?
No, the Rogue One stormtroopers.
The beach or whatever.
There's different. There's the black troopers.
Well, they don't really show a lot of
those
two in the trailers either.
Here, let me see.
I'll
show you later.
This is a little off what you guys were saying. I kind of want to see what you guys think about this, though. In the end of episode 6, it shows Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin as Force ghosts, right?
And 6, yes.
Yes. It shows Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin as Force ghosts. Now, Yoda had gone through the trials. Yeah, no Qui-Gon, but Yoda had to go through those trials and figure that shit out. Obi-Wan had guidance from Qui-Gon to establish that skill, but Anakin, how did he do that? Because if you actually look into it, a Sith and a Jedi actually have two different ways of doing it, because the Sith are hell-bent on, thinking that that death can't, the chains of death can't hold them. That's actually what Mark Aragnos says when he was the Sith Lord. And he was actually the first Sith Lord that was able to actually rule temporarily after he had already died. He used it through the force of like grief, or not grief, but aggression and all that. But with the Jedi way, they used more compassion. Where the hell did Anakin learn that shit?
Maybe Qui-Gon was talking to him.
Yeah.
Possible?
Could be, but I mean, he's been fucking Sith for God knows how long. He didn't just learn that in the last 5 minutes of him being alive as a damn Jedi.
Right.
And then just Qui-Gon just pop up in his head real quick and be like, by the way, if you want to do this, click your heels 3 times, snap your fingers, and fucking pray.
I don't know, but they better show Qui-Gon as a Force ghost before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And actually, going back to that, I remember telling you with Qui-Gon, he actually still plays a role in episode 2, because when Anakin kills all those all the sand people, the Tungsten Raiders, when he goes and kills all of them, the men, the women, the children, all that,
Qui-Gon's
you
voice.
hear him. Yeah, you hear his voice when Yoda's meditating, going, Anakin.
Yeah.
You hear Qui-Gon?
Yes.
Really?
You hear Qui-Gon's voice.
And what's he saying?
He's just saying, Anakin.
Short
like,
troopers.
Yeah.
trying to calm him the fuck down.
Yeah.
Be like, dude, you're doing it wrong.
You're leaving evidence.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
All right.
Oh, what do you think?
Before we wrap this
I got
up,
one more thing, if we can.
All right, go ahead.
What do you think happened to the Ewoks after the Death Star blew up? You think a nuclear
left.
winter killed off?
They left.
They left that door.
They're done.
They're like, screw this, we're out of
They
here.
finally grew up.
You think that?
All right.
All right, okay.
Let's close her out.
So that's another episode of the Nerd Eye Council. Join us next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace.